Hey, goedemorgen. Of als je in Nederland bent, goedemorgen. Anders goeienacht. We kijken naar NBC. Hurricane Milton is op zijn weg naar Florida. En hier op Baas Media Radio en TV houden we je op de hoogte.
Moments ago, reminding people to stay hunkered down, to not go out on the streets. It is too dangerous, and to avoid flooded areas specifically, especially because this is a dangerous storm and it's more dangerous in the dark. They've already seen some power outages. Our hotel, which is not too far from our location here, lost power momentarily. They had backup generators. They were able to get back up and running. But this is obviously a fluid situation here. And even though we are several miles south of, say, you and other people that are in much dire situations in Sarasota, the impacts are still being felt here. Sam?
Yeah, Dana, can you walk me through anecdotally, like what are people telling you when you were talking to them about their level of concern in the days leading up to Milton? As you said, Naples is 30 minutes south of where we are, and obviously as the wind fields have expanded, the size of the storm has expanded so significantly, really in just 48 hours. What were you hearing from folks on the ground about how they were feeling?
Yeah, Dana, just days before this storm hit, they started talking about evacuation warnings and evacuation alerts because they knew that the storm was going to be so serious and so dangerous. We talked to residents who said that they were taking this more seriously than they have in the past. You know, when it comes to hurricane preparedness, you hear people say all the time, oh, you know, back in the day, years and decades, or years ago, decades ago, people would hear hurricane preparedness, and that meant grabbing a case of beer, hunkering down with your friends, but staying put. But because of the impacts of these larger
case
storms
of
that are
beer
becoming
is
more
important.
impactful, and even just Ian that struck 2 years ago, and although there was not a direct here in Naples, they had some impacts, including the Naples Pier, which was destroyed, half of it washed away, and it has not even been rebuilt 2 years later. They are concerned, and there's a sense of fear and anxiety, especially for communities that are in or along the coast. Those are the evacuation zones that were, or those are the areas that were evacuated just days ago because they are very vulnerable. We saw videos showing just 2 years ago how much storm surge can wipe out homes and wipe out vegetation and wipe out areas that people thought they were safe from. So they were very concerned. You had a lot of anxiety. But on the flip side, Sam, you had tons of surfers on the beach. Every day we were out there this week, we saw more and more people show up. Even today, as tornado warnings were going off, you can see the video. This is the video that my producer, Carmen Gonzalez, shot earlier today. We were at that beach, and we saw surfers in the water. Even a child was out there with what we assume was their parents. So, and I asked, why go out there? Why? And they said, this is a surfer's dream. They do this every time a hurricane is coming. And at the time, we saw lightning. Our phones were going off because of those alerts warning us of a tornado. They said they were going to stay out a couple hours more. We hope they are safe. We hope they've reached higher ground. They said they were not evacuating because they were farther inland and they were not as concerned. And hopefully people heeded the warnings to leave. Let's talk about some shelter information. They have space capacity for 4,600 people to reach the shelters. There's about 8 of them here in Collier County, including one special needs shelter that will have a backup generator so that if they were to lose power, people who need special medical devices will be able to be hooked up to those devices. But about 1,900 people are in those shelters, and people are coming through as we speak. Sam?
What a stunning juxtaposition of those surfers who were receiving emergency alerts at the same time as they were hitting the beach. Dana Griffin, thank you so much for breaking that all down for us as the storm surge there, according to our folks in our weather unit.
We are watching NBC News right now.
I want to bring in right now the sheriff of Charlotte County, that would be Bill Promo, to talk a little bit about what's going on.
Watching Hurricane, what's his name? Milton, to arrive in Florida.
response services within the last hour and a half. Can you walk me through what calculations go behind that decision and sort of what you're seeing from your vantage point?
Yes, well, usually when the winds reach about 45 miles per hour sustained winds, we start to pull everybody back. But we also get the input from our supervisors and commanders that are out there on the road. So if they deem that the conditions are too unsafe for us to remain out there on the road and start responding to calls, we pull everybody back in. And that's just what we had to do because we had sustained winds that were well over 45 miles an hour. And we're still seeing that now.
Did you realize, I know we were talking about this earlier, Sheriff Prummel, the fact that there might have been the perception among some of these parts of the West Coast, Southwest Florida, that the storm wasn't going to really be as damaging here versus the Tampa Bay area. But at any point, did you let your guard down, or did you feel like folks in Charlotte County were really trying to message and get people evacuated and get them in safe spaces this entire week?
No, I've been through several storms now. I was through Hurricane Charlie back in 2004. I was through Ian just 2 years ago. We had Helene just go by our coast a little while ago. And one of the things, whenever I hear there's a storm going to Tampa, I always brace ourselves here because that's what Ian was supposed to do. That's what Charlie was supposed to do. So our messaging was the same. We were telling people to get out well in advance. But unfortunately, in the beginning, people weren't heeding the call. They felt because some who stayed during Ian, they felt because they made it through Ian that they were going to be fine. They felt because it's going to be up in Tampa that they're going to be fine. I've warned people, ever since Charlie, after Ian, they don't realize how lucky we were. Although they were very strong and damaging storms, all we got in those was wind because we took direct hits. We never got the surge. Well, when Helene came through here a couple weeks ago, and although it was still 180 miles off our coast, we took in substantial flooding, and we've actually had more than 2,000 homes that have been deemed either majorly damaged or destroyed. So I think once people realized that the surge was coming here and it was going to be probably 3 times what Helene was, they started to get out. But we still, unfortunately, have people that have stayed behind. I have barrier islands that people have stayed behind on, so I'm very concerned about them.
Right, we know in Port Charlotte you're obviously right on the water there, though, not barrier islands, but you are coastal. You talked about the storm surge. Do you see that as the primary driver or potentially as damaging to people's residences as even 120, 130 mile an hour winds?
Yes, I do. That storm surge coming in, it's a wall of water and there's no stopping it. And we don't know how far inland it's going to go. The sad thing is here with Charlotte County, we have a beautiful county, and we have all of our waterways. We have the Myakka River, we have the Peace River, we have Charlotte Harbor, we have Gasparilla Sound, we have the intercoastal waterways, and of course we got the Gulf of Mexico. So we have a lot of water here, and about 75% of my residents live on or near the water. So they're all within the flood zone. So this is going to be very catastrophic for us.
Sheriff Prummel, real quickly, so sorry, can you tell me one other thing? In terms of communications, as we know, we're going to be losing electricity, telecommunications infrastructure. How do you communicate with folks who need help, and what are you advising them to do?
Well, they just need to be patient. The 911 lines will never go down. Even if we lose communication here within our communication center with the next generation 911, it will go over to the neighboring county that's still up. So we will never lose communication with our people. But once this storm is over, we already have a search and rescue plan in place. So even if they're unable to communicate with us, we're going to be out there in the neighborhoods. We have a lot of assets here. We have a plan in place. And we're just going to follow that plan, and we will get to everybody.
Sheriff Prummel, we know you're doing your darndest right now and obviously have your folks' best interests in mind, trying to make sure everyone's going to be okay in the days and the weeks to come. Thank you so much for spending this time, especially tonight, giving us a window into what's going on in Charlotte County. We are going to have much more for you on the latest developments here with Hurricane Milton. We're still waiting for half of that eye wall officially to make landfall. More coming up right after this.
Top story live from Paris, live in Tel Aviv.
We are here in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Every weeknight, it's your news playlist. Top Story with Tom Llamas, streaming weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
News lives in the now.
Look at this. You can't even see anything anymore.
Let's break down what we know.
You gotta see this.
News for the generation of now is NBC News Now.
I'm Stephanie Gosk in Tampa, Florida, where we continue with our live coverage of Hurricane Milton. And the hurricane, I can tell you, is flexing its strongest muscles right now over the city of Tampa. The winds at hurricane strength. You can see the trees bending over, the rain coming down, torrential rain coming down. We've had at least a half a foot at this point. That could be as much as a foot. We've gotten flash flooding warnings, high wind warnings. Being told in this area, people are being told by the governor and other emergency officials to shelter in place. But here is the remarkable thing about this hurricane. We've just had landfall. The landfall. Waiting for control room is speaking with me. Where was landfall? Was it over Sarasota? We were expecting the eye to go over Sarasota. Siesta Key in Sarasota County has landfall for Hurricane Milton. So this is really the worst of it. In that area, they could get the worst storm surge to the south of there as well. We have Bill Cairns right now with us to update us on the path of the storm and what we're seeing. Bill?
All right, Stephanie. So, yes, we have had confirmation of that landfall near Siesta Key. That was expected as we've gone throughout this storm. Another major hurricane, 120 miles per hour, making landfall on the heels of Helene, obviously. And, of course, in this region of the country, you know, we had Irma a couple of years back. We've had Ian. There's been numerous storms. This one, it went right over the top and is making landfall near Sarasota. So the worst of the storm surge is coming in now. It is rushing in. Near Walker Creek, I just saw a report of a river gauge there that it's up 10 feet. Now, we know in Naples we've had a storm surge of at least 5 feet, so that kind of makes sense. So Naples, we're at 5 feet, and right near landfall, we have a storm surge of 10 feet. So you can kind of do the math in between here. You know, Venice is likely probably around 8 feet, and it hasn't stopped yet. The water is still going to go in with this landfall. We still have this onshore flow on the backside here. It will slowly recede probably after about 10 p.m. or midnight, but the highest water is now, the most destruction is being done now by that storm surge. To the north of landfall, which is Bradenton, all of Tampa Bay, it's a whole different issue. We've got torrential rain. They're now saying from the National Weather Service, the Weather Prediction Center, that catastrophic rainfall rates are going to be over the next 4 to 6 hours. We're getting rainfall of 2 to 3 inches an hour, and they say that could last 4 to 6 hours. You do some quick math, if you're getting 3 inches an hour over 4 hours, that's up to 12 inches of rain, a foot of rain in the next 3 hours in this area in here, which is from St. Petersburg up to Tampa and then along I-4. And this should extend here through Lakeland and towards Orlando later on tonight. So just because Tampa Bay got lucky and did not get that horrific possible storm surge like they are from Sarasota southwards, the rainfall and the wind is causing a lot of issues. So here's the latest with the surge. The water right now in Naples, we're at 4.5, so this is still ticking up. We have not peaked yet. Fort Myers is at 3.6 feet, and this is water, you know, from above where it should be. So in other words, we're still at low tide. We're still coming towards high tide. So even though the surge is 5 feet, the water level is really 4.6 because we haven't hit that peak high tide yet. So that's why the numbers get a little crazy. But as far as no issues at all here with the storm surge in the Bay. So we're already seeing the storm surge. And the other thing is just the winds, Stephanie. We continue to watch that. The strongest and the worst of it is right over Tampa now. We did have a report in the Tampa area of a 96-mile-per-hour wind gust. That was the strongest that we've had yet. And that's why the power number outages are starting to crank up quickly.
Yeah, you know, Bill, you're watching it. I can tell you that we are feeling it. The wind has just started ripping here in Tampa. And you also talk about those rain totals. It's been already raining here for hours, at times torrential rain. So that will just add up onto what you were talking about. But now this storm, now that it's on shore, spreading across the entire state of Florida, we have people on the east coast of Florida. Chase Kane, NBC's climate reporter, he's there, and they are seeing the effects effects of this hurricane as well. Chase, what can you tell us? What are you looking at?
Stephanie, the conditions have definitely deteriorated here over the last hour or so. We have pretty consistent tropical storm force winds, but we've been having some gusts that definitely feel stronger than that. You notice that the streets are empty. That's because there is a mandatory curfew in place right now for Volusia County. Also, where we are in Zone A, mandatory evacuations as well. Volusia County officials say they've had roughly 1,000 people or so move into shelters, but hopefully people that were in some of those most at-risk places. We're here kind of in the wind shadow of a hotel, so that's how we're able to safely be out here. But you can see these trees behind me, pretty strong, pretty consistent winds that we've had coming through here, Stephanie. The main concern for this area is over the coming hours, we still haven't gotten the strongest part of the storm, and we also still haven't gotten to high tide. That's around 1:15 this morning, and the forecast is for a 4 or 5 foot storm surge. So if you're adding that on top of high tide, that's when there certainly could be flooding in this area, Stephanie.
Thank you, Chase. Well, you and your team stay safe. We really appreciate it. This is the moment right now. This is the critical moment for Hurricane Milton. And oftentimes when a hurricane hits and it is this strong,
critical moment.
Getting hit the hardest are the ones that you actually don't hear from because the people there have lost their power.
Het gaat nu spannend worden.
Sometimes they are dealing with flooding.
The worst is yet to come.
That they wanted emergency service.
En we volgen even wat NBC doet.
And they asked people to leave their homes if they could, but not everyone could. They didn't have money, they didn't have enough gas. We're going now to Norma Ray, who is in that situation. Tell us what you're seeing and what you're experiencing.
Well, so far so good. We're kind of in the northeast part of the state, so the worst is yet to get to us.
And tell me a little bit about your decision to stay at home. I think a lot of people looking at the possibility for some very uncomfortable days ahead without power, without gas potentially. Why did you stay?
Well, there was a bit of confusion on the mandatory evacuation order. And by the time that got cleared up yesterday afternoon, the traffic was so bad on I-95 and gas shortages were being reported. And there were no hotels between here and Atlanta. And we just decided to go ahead and ride it out. I'm in a concrete block building, so the building getting hurt. Certainly worried a little bit about flood waters, but we've put up sandbags, and I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that people don't think a lot about when they think about riding out the storm. They think people are just trying to be like cowboys. That's not necessarily the case with people. They may not be able to find a hotel like yourself. They may not be able to fill up their car with gas. They may just not have the money to be able to do all of those things, and they've got to deal with it. Well, I'm glad you guys are doing okay. Good luck in the days ahead, and we're thinking of you.
Thank you very much. We're thinking of all of you.
All right.
Well, there's one brave Florida resident staying, riding the storm out. Dat kun je natuurlijk ook gewoon doen, hè? Het wordt wel spannend.
The vote. It's as American as apple pie, as stars and stripes and spacious skies. It's iconic.
Got the flag up now.
Patriotic. It's America's favorite pastime. The vote is as American as you. And this November, we're all chanting, it's your turn. Step into the box and make it stick. Vote her up. It's iconic.
Got the flag up now.
Patriotic.
Welcome back to our special coverage of Hurricane Milton. I'm Tom Llamas, back live with you guys now. It's incredible. We are in the path of Milton. Milton has made landfall just south of us in Siesta Key, but the eye is over Sarasota right now. And if you look up, it looks like a calm night, and that's why people in their trucks have started to come out here. They're doing donuts. In some cases, they're racing each other. This is incredibly dangerous, but they don't care because they know right now that the police aren't out, because when the conditions are dangerous, as they were maybe about 20, 30 minutes ago before the eye passed over us, the police aren't going to be out here because it's too dangerous for them. So people are coming out now. They're acting pretty reckless. They're driving pretty reckless, but it's all part of the game here for people who don't really care that the hurricane's about to hit. Here's the flip side, which they may not know. After the eye passes, on the backside of that storm are the strongest winds of this hurricane. We're still maybe 20 to 30 minutes from that point. But if you were to walk out in Sarasota right now, you wouldn't even know that you were in the eye of a hurricane. There's no rain. There's no wind. It is a weather phenomenon that I've experienced before covering hurricanes. But when you think about the size and the force of Hurricane Milton, and you see there's really nothing happening right now in the eye of the storm, it's pretty incredible. Jesse Kirsch, my colleague, is also reporting from Sarasota. He's maybe about 100 yards from where I am, up on the 4th floor of a parking garage where we've been broadcasting from when it was a little more dangerous. Jesse, it's pretty incredible that right now there's really literally nothing going on in Sarasota except the eye of a massive hurricane passing over us.
Yeah, and Tom, I could hear the engines revving when you were talking about people in the streets. And just to emphasize what you were talking about right there, we've had full palms ripped from these tree limbs, and right now they're barely moving. I mean, look at this, right? And we're just blocks from shore along Sarasota Bay, and this is the scene. But to underscore what you were just saying, it's a false sense of security. We've had some wind gusts, a couple pretty gnarly ones, but nothing too sustained in that space. And actually, I'm going to have our photographer, David, zoom in. You might be able to tell there are people driving over the causeway toward the barrier islands right now, which is unfathomable to me. We know that police are not on the streets anymore. And again, this is a false sense of security because we are expecting the worst of what we're going to get here on the backside. And that's not just winds, Tom, right? We're talking about up to 13 feet of storm surge potentially. And we're just blocks from the bay right now. And we've been out on the barrier island around here for the last couple of days, and there was waist-high water line marks on buildings that were hit by Helene less than 2 weeks ago. And we were expecting ahead of this storm, possibly double that storm surge. And we're still looking at the storm surge being well over my head. And the idea that people are heading that way to me right now is eye-popping. But yeah, just again, Tom, total quiet. I don't even think it's misting at this point. I don't know if you're feeling it from where you are, but from where I am, doesn't even look like there's any rain falling. And if we're quiet, you know, I can hear people from a couple blocks away. I think I just heard a door being closed along a hotel nearby. I mean, that's how quiet it is out here right now.
Yeah, we're outside a hotel, and people at the hotel have obviously gathered outside the lobby to kind of see what is happening. It's one of the most dangerous parts of the storm because people come out during the eye when it's calm, and then they stay here, and then suddenly the winds pick up. But again, you can't stop the people from coming out, right? And they're not going to stop them from coming out because you don't want any kind of confrontation right before the hurricane force winds pick up. Jesse Kirsch, we appreciate all your reporting. Stand by for us. We're going to go to Samantha, who's just outside of Tampa. She's riding out the storm with her family and her infant daughter. Samantha, I know you're not in an evacuation zone. Talk to me about what you're experiencing at your home.
Yeah, right now it's high winds. Our lights have been flickering. I hear rain. I can't see anything. We can't really open our door just because of how strong the winds are. But we're riding it out and we're just hoping for the best.
You know, Samantha, I know you're not in an evacuation zone. Talk to me about the decision not to get out anyway, because, you know, you might be hit with a couple of days of power outages. I know it's complicated to evacuate even with a child.
Yeah, no, I just believe that the resources are out there for the people that are in the evacuation zones or those in mobile homes. I'm in a safe house right now. Our house is hurricane proof, up to category 5 for the windows and the garage and the doors. So that was really important, that we're allowing other people to get the resources that they need. And if we need them, then we'll take advantage of them. Also, gas was so scarce yesterday. The traffic was insane. So getting out for us was just like not the
Samantha,
option that I
know
wanted
you're
to
not in
choose.
Evacuation zone. Talk to me about the decision.
Are you
not to
guys
get
well
out
stocked
anyway,
with
because,
food,
you might
baby
be hit with
supplies,
a
everything you
couple
need to
days of
get
power.
by for maybe a few days up to a week?
Yes, absolutely. We prepared like 2 days ago. We have clean water. We have a little generator for the baby to sterilize bottles. We have formula. We have food, non-perishable items. And we also have a great community over here. So if we were to run out of something, there's always somebody that we can walk over to and make sure that we get what we need to make sure everyone is okay and healthy.
Whoa.
And then Samantha, do you still have power right now? Are you running off a generator, or is there still power in your neighborhood?
We luckily have power, thankfully, but the lights have been flickering for
Test,
the last hour. So
yeah.
I do anticipate, oh, there it goes.
Sorry.
I do anticipate it happening, the power outage to happen any minute.
And then do you guys have a generator, or will you just have to deal with it until the power company can fix it?
We'll most likely have to deal with it until the power company can fix it, but we have a small one that we're going to use like just for the baby and all of her needs.
We're watching NBC Live right now.
Tonight. I hope you guys stay safe out there, and I hope your power stays working throughout the night.
Talking to a resident in Florida that's riding the storm out.
Live here in Sarasota. We're going to come right back after this break. Stay with us.
En we krijgen een break, dus ik kan even in het Nederlands gaan vertellen wat er allemaal aan de hand is. Hurricane Milton, die komt aan land in Florida. En dat gaat een hele grote worden met windstoten van 120 mijl per uur tot 170. Vergeleken met kilometers per uur, 120 is 180 kilometer per uur. Dat kennen we in Nederland niet. En dat gaat zo meteen gebeuren. We zagen net beelden van de eye of the hurricane. Dus midden in de hurricane zelf. Daar was het heel rustig. Maar er staat van alles te wachten. It's not looking good, zou ik willen zeggen. Ik volg de NBC stream now. Die zijn in Florida met live reporters. Doen nu een reclameblok. En dan kijken we even naar de market report. Ook belangrijk, maar ja, als je in Florida woont, dan wil je natuurlijk wel even weten hoe het zit met die Hurricane Milton. Die komt binnen nu en 20 minuten zullen we het ergste krijgen, begreep ik net op de livestream. Dus we gaan even terug naar NBC. Kijken of ze nog wat nieuws te melden hebben. En zo niet ga ik even wat alternatieve sources bekijken. Want het schijnt niet alleen in Tampa te gebeuren. Maar ook Orlando. Daar kunnen we ellende krijgen. En dan hebben we het niet alleen over stroomuitval. Maar ook over hele hoge waterlevels. En stel je voor 3 meter water in jouw huis of appartement. Overleef je dat? Iedereen is gewaarschuwd en geadviseerd om weg te gaan. Natuurlijk fantastische files en zo. Dus er zijn mensen die hebben besloten, we blijven hier. We're gonna ride it out. En we gaan terug naar live coverage. Nou, dit ziet er niet heel live uit. Dus een of ander spotje. Maar dan wachten we gewoon even, hè. En over de election wachten we ook even. Ik denk dat we nu live coverage gaan krijgen. Ja, daar komt hij.
Of Hurricane Milton. I'm Tom Llamas, live in Sarasota.
Let's
the
tune
eye
in.
over Sarasota right now, and that's why it's so calm where we are. A much different story in Tampa Bay. Marissa Parra joins our coverage live now. Marissa, walk our viewers through what you're seeing and experiencing at this hour.
Hey, Tom, we're seeing some really steady wind gusts. And before I describe for you what we're seeing, keep in mind that we are protected on either side of us are walls so that we are able to stay safe. If I were to walk about 20 feet down this direction, it would be much worse than where we're standing. So as you can see, there is still heavy rain, heavy downpour around me, and then of course those wind gusts, which I think those large palm trees behind me are your best indicator of just how strong that is. And this is the reason why Governor Ron DeSantis, within the last hour and a half in a press conference, was saying it is simply too dangerous for people to evacuate. This is the time to hunker down. Even in the time that I've been standing here, we have seen debris flying around in that direction over there. It's again the reason why we're not taking precautions. It's the reason why we are seeing first responders, these counties suspending emergency operations. That debris is something that makes Milton slightly unique in the sense that there is so much of it left over from Helene, something that we've both been reporting on. Another thing, we've talked about the evacuations, mandatory zones in this area.
Petersburg in Florida. Het ziet er een link uit.
Just telling you about. We know there are roughly 100,000 people believed to be in shelters all around the state. We know those shelters are swelling, probably as people started to see conditions like this deteriorate. And here in Hillsborough County, where Tampa is, 6 of the 24 shelters say they are at full capacity. And I will also tell you, Tom, as we are seeing these wind gusts picking up pieces of debris like this. I mean, this came from a palm tree. And for those who are aware, this isn't something that just blows around in the wind. This isn't just, a leaf or a small piece of branch. Those are very sturdy parts of the palm tree. They're blowing around. And we're also starting to see the lights flicker. There are 500,000 people around the state of Florida without power. Of course, we do expect that number to climb.
Oké, 500.000 mensen zitten zonder stroom in Florida.
But we have seen the lights start to flicker around us, Tom.
Op dit moment al.
Be among those numbers at some point in the night, Tom.
En het ergste moet nog komen.
Marissa Parra reporting live for us. Marissa, we appreciate all your reporting. Your team stay safe tonight. And again, our thanks to you. I want to get over to Bill Cairns right now. Bill, this is incredible where we are. I mean, an absolutely calm moment in Sarasota. It was incredibly chaotic over the last 3 hours. It is now perfectly calm. And we know it's about to get pretty wild maybe in an hour or two. Right, Bill?
Ja, het is nu nog even stil daar in the eye of the storm.
Here. And Marissa's here, and this is not that far away from each other. You can do this drive in an hour here from Tampa to Sarasota if you get lucky with the traffic. And that's the difference between being in the northern eye, which Tampa is in Bradenton and all of Tampa Bay, or Sarasota, which is going right through the center of the storm. So pretty incredible stuff, and this rainfall is really problematic. Just to update the power outage numbers, now at 750,000 people without power. The extreme wind warning continues for all areas north of Sarasota with that heavy rain and that wind. That's where we're seeing the gusts. Bradenton, 96-mile-per-hour gusts. So that's why the power is going out so quickly. We've had an unconfirmed report of a storm surge south of Sarasota of 10 feet. Down to Naples, around 5 feet. So that everywhere in between here.
Ja, 90 miles per hour wind is 130 of zo.
Looks like it's happening.
Dat hebben we hier ook wel eens.
Tampa Bay. Here's some of our latest wind gusts, 71.
Maar niet met al die regen erbij.
Up into the 50s. Punta Gorda 79, now 72. St. Petersburg just with a gust up to 90. Tampa to 82. So those are the wind gusts that you see Marissa out there in, and she even said she's protected. So that's why we're starting to see when you get 90-mile-per-hour gusts, you're getting roof damage, shingles are flying, you're getting some trees coming down. That's the sort
Ja, en we krijgen 120 mijl per uur. Dat is bijna 200 kilometer per uur. Dat is een hoordorf hier in Nederland.
Florida and all through there right around I-4. And as far as the max wind go in Orlando, I still think you have a chance of getting gusts up to maybe 80 miles per hour. We're still going to keep this a hurricane through the night. South here of Orlando from Winter Haven with Sebring, and then eventually off the Space Coast by about 10 a.m. or so. So the storm's going to be in and out. The Florida Peninsula is not too wide. The rainfall is also going to become a huge issue from Tampa to Orlando, Daytona Beach. Flash flood warnings continue through this entire region. The area around Tampa, estimates of already a foot of rain had fallen. And it's not just Tampa. As we go throughout the night, we're going to see this high-risk warning going for Orlando all the way back up here through
Ja, buiten Tampa gaat hij ook richting Orlando.
Our computers are saying here. So
Straks naar de Space Coast, die we ook al kennen als Kennedy Space Center.
This area here to St. Augustine, Palm Bay, could get significant flash flooding overnight into early tomorrow morning. And then as we go throughout the night,
Ja, tot morgenochtend flash flooding.
start to notice that wind
Dat wil je niet.
increase out of your northwest. It'll start getting a little breezy, and then quickly, you should have some gusts 60 to maybe 80 miles per hour in roughly about 30 minutes from now.
Wauw. In een half
All
uurtje.
right, Bill Cairns, we'll stand by, make sure we're in a safe space for that. I also want to show our viewers this, the storm surge starting to pick up just a little bit. This could be just general flooding from all the rain we experienced, or it could be the beginning of the storm surge. We are seeing that water flow in. It's crazy because it's so dark.
Ja, dat valt wel mee, hè.
And it's silently creeping up. I want to get to Mayor Kevin Anderson right now. He's the mayor of Fort Myers. He's lost power. Mayor
Daar heb ik in mijn tuin ook, wat je daar liet zien.
Well, as you mentioned, just lost power about 5 minutes ago.
Oh.
But so far it's been relatively calm compared.
Dat is wel kut, de stroom is uitgevallen.
The wind's not been as strong. The water is slowly rising and flooding our streets downtown, but we're not quite yet to where we were with Helene.
Okay.
And then, Mayor, are you surprised about sort of the tornado warnings, the tornado touchdowns, and everything else you had to deal with this massive hurricane? It seems like there were a few surprises.
The tornadoes definitely caught us off guard. We weren't expecting to have.
Ja, hoezo? We weren't expecting. Come on. Dat is hier al 3 weken op het nieuws.
They weren't too bad. This storm, for us at least, has not been as bad as we anticipated.
Dat zijn wel beelden, hè?
We have the eye right over us here in Sarasota. It's completely calm right now. What's it like in Fort Myers where you are?
We've got a little bit of wind gust and some light rain.
Ja, maar die mayor zit, dat lijkt wel Nederland in de herfst.
The warnings. I know Fort Myers, there were points there where Fort Myers was evacuating the beach. It looked like the storm may be heading a little further north.
Dat is met die dingen, het is heel local. En als dat net jouw stroomvoorziening raakt, ja, dan ben je fucked.
Smarter than the hurricane or smarter than the meteorologists. They don't want to get out of town. Did people in Fort Myers sort of listen to all the warnings?
I believe a majority, more than usual anyway.
Of iedereen geluisterd heeft naar de waarschuwingen van ga weg. Als je hier blijft, dan verdrink je.
Their businesses where
En de meeste mensen hebben geluisterd naar dat advies.
people in their shelters. I believe they have taken.
Maar als jij Amerikanen een beetje kent, dan zijn er ook een stel die zeggen, we're gonna ride it out.
Unpredictable thing about the hurricane is, or the most predictable thing about the hurricane is it's unpredictable.
Mayor, we thank you for your time tonight. Please stay safe. We're going to leave you with this image as I'm going to turn it over to Gotti Schwartz. He's going to pick up some of our live coverage, but we're going to continue with Hurricane Milton. The storm surge has started here.
Hey, de
in
plans.
Sarasota. We are
Doet mij
in the
denken aan de
eye,
film
but the surge has
Idiocracy.
started. That wraps up this hour. Our coverage continues.
The
right
plants
now.
are growing. Maybe we should feed them water. Water? Just from the toilet?
As we're coming on the air tonight, Milton, a catastrophic Category 3 hurricane, has just made landfall near Siesta Key, Florida. Now, this is a life-threatening situation.
Okay, landfall.
Stressing, if you did not get out, you need to be sheltering in place right now. This is a live look at the conditions in Fort Myers, Florida, as we speak. Milton
Ja, maar
is packing winds of up to 120.
Dat is ook wel een slechte webcam, hè?
800,000 people are already without power. Storm surge warnings are in effect up and down the coast as some parts could see up to.
En waarom heeft die webcam nog wel stroom?
Tonight. Now, this is on top of a record-breaking number of dangerous tornadoes ripping through the center of Florida throughout this chaotic day. Dozens of twisters through communities hours before landfall.
It's a twister! It's a twister!
Again, that is ahead of the hurricane. Some areas already reporting roofs torn apart and people hurt. There were more than 100 tornado warnings today, the most ever in Florida in a single day. We will have special coverage over the next 2 hours tracking Hurricane Milton as it makes landfall. Our team of correspondents are on the ground all across Florida, and top story anchor Tom Yamas will be guiding us through these critical hours as he rides through the hurricane from the ground zero of Sarasota County. His team is repositioning as we speak. But first, for an overview of what so much of Florida is facing right now, let's start with NBC News meteorologist Angie Lastman. Angie, we've got that super destructive eye wall that has inched closer to where Tom and his team have been. Now he is inside of that eye wall. What are conditions looking like all around Florida right now?
Hey there, Gotti. Yeah, so the thing is, if you're inside of the eye wall, all is calm. We saw some reports that it's even a little humid. You start to hear really everything that's going on around you, but it's that eye wall that is so destructive that we are so concerned about when it comes to wind damage, when it comes to the rainfall, and of course on the backside of that system, all of the water being shoved up against the coast. We did have landfall, you mentioned it, in Siesta Key just a little while ago. This system is going to continue cruising to the north and east here as basically the next 12 hours goes on, but notice how aggressive this band of rain is set up across parts of Tampa, Bradenton and points north of that, St. Pete included in that, the Tampa area. We're watching the eye kind of right around here. The south of that, that's where we're starting to see the storm surge really ramp up. It's been ongoing. It's going to continue to get worse here as we go through at least the next 2 hours for areas Sarasota and points south towards Venice, even Naples recording 5 to 6 feet of storm surge already. Those numbers are going to continue to be on the rise here as the next couple of hours go by. Notice this blue box. That's an extreme wind warning. That's going to go until 9:30 tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets extended. That means that basically you're talking about very aggressive and destructive winds. The National Weather Service tells you to act like this is a tornado warning happening right over you. So that's exactly what people should be doing if they chose to stay in this area for inland areas along I-4, Tampa Bay, St. Pete, all of that included. And again, stretching down into the Bradenton area where you see these purple and red returns on a radar. That means torrential, really aggressive rainfall at the same time. This system is kind of north loaded. So you see on the northern side of the eye wall, that's where the strongest winds are, and that's where the heaviest of the rain is. On the backside, it doesn't mean that there aren't, really damaging effects happening there with the eye wall, but if you're in this area, you're going to see more power outages here. You're going to likely see, as the sun comes up tomorrow, a lot of wind damage going through this eye wall in places like Bloomingdale, St. Petersburg, Tampa, Clearwater even. And that's just the wind damage that we'll watch for there. Now, one thing to note, this system's going to stay together as a hurricane here as it crosses the state. It'll do so pretty quick. Notice this is 2 p.m. on Thursday. It's already out in the Atlantic. So I would say by 11 a.m., maybe noon, it'll be out of the state of Florida and off into those ocean waters. But it's still going to be a Category 1, and we're still going to see those Category 1 hurricane force winds associated with it as it works across central Florida, Orlando area, and across the Space Coast as well. On top of that, those heavy rains will also be there. When it comes to the storm surge, this is what we feared so much leading up to this storm system. We've got over 4 feet of storm surge happening for Naples right now. We've got almost 4 feet in Fort Myers. This, of course, nothing compared to what they dealt with in Hurricane Ian, but this number is going to go up, and this is well away from the center of that system. We're probably talking about much higher ranges a little farther to the north. We unfortunately don't have gauges there to tell us that there just simply is not gauges in that area, Gotti. So we're going to have to wait until, of course, the light of day to see some of what the worst of that storm surge brings. Right now in the Tampa Bay, we have reverse storm surge going on. So the water rushing out with those offshore winds. This is going to continue here for the next couple of hours, and we'll see, the system continue to move across the state with the other impacts that it'll bring to folks there here over the next 12 hours or so.
Angie Lastman with a little bit of good news for Tampa Bay with those negative storm surge numbers. But we have Stephanie Gosk, who is in Tampa Bay right now, and that is where we're seeing the worst of the torrential rain. Stephanie, what are you seeing on the ground right now? We know there's been torrential rain and flooding, but the storm surge might not be as bad as feared. So describe the situation that you're in right now.
Yeah, Gotti, it's the rain, but it is also the wind. We are seeing ferocious gusts of wind. They have to have topped 100. They were up to 95, 96 earlier, maybe about a half an hour ago, and they've just picked up and ratcheted it up even further. We're seeing trees bent over, signs whipping off of buildings. This is certainly the worst that it has gotten. And then there is the rain, the torrential rain. It's been raining all day here, but has started to come down much faster and much harder. You can tell these gusts are coming in pretty strong. Their rain, according to Bill Cairns, for the next 3 or 4 hours, this area of Tampa could get 2 to 3 inches of rain an hour. That will be on top of what's already fallen. So, yes, there isn't going to be the storm surge here in Tampa Bay, but you're looking at upwards of a foot of rain falling on a place that is already saturated from a previous storm, on top of the damage that this wind is inevitably doing on this region as I talk to you.
And Stephanie, people may be tuning in right now and wondering, how are you still standing and those palm trees behind you are blowing like crazy? Can you walk us through some of the safety precautions you and your team have taken?
It's a great question. We are actually in a parking garage made out of cement. We are on the 3rd story of the parking garage, we are surrounded by 3 walls.
De mevrouw die we zien staat in een parkeergarage. Is beschermd van allerlei kanten, zodat er geen rare dingen in de gezicht kunnen vliegen. Maar het is wel een gevaarlijke situatie natuurlijk. Je moet daar niet gaan blijven als je daar woont. Iedereen is ook opgeroepen om zo snel mogelijk op te sodomieteren. Maar ja, niet iedereen heeft dat gedaan. Want Florida mensen die zijn niet te snel bang en die willen het ook wel uitrijden. En hoe is Tampa voorbereid op een storm? Ze zijn voorbereid, maar als je geen stroom meer hebt, dan ja, een moeilijke situatie.
In a century, but people here know that they're going to have to do it. There's a great example and a critical one for the city of Tampa, and that is the Tampa General Hospital. And they have taken incredible measures to make sure that they can stay operational. They are such a critical place for people to get care.
Het ziekenhuis heeft maatregelen genomen om noodstroom te hebben.
Storm surge up to 12 feet. They have their own power plant, Gotti, to keep the...
Ze zijn up to 12 feet protected, dus 12 voet. Dus ja, waar is nou, een meter of 7, 8. Daar zijn ze op voorbereid. Dus ze kunnen gewoon naar boven.
Of supplies and medicines and food so that they can wait out whatever might happen. They are perhaps the most critical infrastructure.
En genoeg voedsel en medicijnen om de eerste uren door te brengen zonder stroom.
But this period of time, Hurricane Helene, followed by this storm, it is a 1-2 punch that they have not seen in this city in a very long time, Gotti.
Incredible, the power of Mother Nature behind you there, Stephanie Gosk in Tampa. Thank you so much. And for a split screen here, let's go to Tom.
Dat was Stephanie in Tampa. We gaan even naar Tom. Die zit een stukje verder.
And you were in the eye of the storm.
Hij zit midden in the eye of the storm, het oog van de storm.
In the shelter of concrete.
En het is daar bijzonder rustig.
Because you were right in that eye, right?
Yeah, the eye was incredibly calm. It was quiet. It was eerily quiet. And unfortunately, when it gets like that, it brings people out. And so now I'm going to be kind of looking out of the corner of my eye because there's a lot of people in sort of high water pickup trucks, if you will. And they're just sort of zooming around, looky-loos, if you will. They're doing donuts. They're trying to splash the water in different directions. It's dangerous.
Ze hebben gelukkig nog goed donuts.
Now that the eye wall or the back eye wall is about to hit us, this is the strongest part of the hurricane. So the eye is obviously very calm. Now that is past, the strongest hurricane force winds are going to hit us. What I do want to show you though, Gotti, is pretty incredible. This is the beginning of the storm surge. When we came out here, maybe about 15, 30 minutes ago, there wasn't water here. It's moving really, really fast. You can actually see it on the camera as it's pushing forward. This is coming from the bay.
Ja, maar dit ziet er niet enger uit dan Valkenburg 2 jaar geleden.
Until those hurricane force winds start pushing that water ahead. It could be anywhere from 8 to 12 feet. The power behind me, you notice, is out. So we're dealing with some power outages right now. But again, we're still sort of feeling the effects of the eye of the storm, which even though this is a monster hurricane, it's a phenomenon of weather. It is incredible.
Ja.
It is completely...
Hij zit in het oog van de storm en
of the hurricane.
er is net wat heavy weer geweest en straks komt het andere deel van die eye. En dat duurt nog een kwartiertje tot een half uurtje.
You know, the eye, I'd say.
Hoe lang zat je in het oog?
What do we think, guys? Like maybe 30
Goeie vraag.
minutes. Probably about 45 minutes. Our audio engineer, Mr. Pope.
3 kwartier ongeveer.
Storm chaser here. He's been with us, been monitoring the conditions. He thinks it's about 45 minutes. I think he's right. But again, Gotti, like, it's hard to explain. I've covered a lot of hurricanes, and you forget how calm it is in the eye. I mean,
Jongen, je geluidsman die heeft altijd gelijk. Dus geloof hem maar, 3 kwartier.
stops, and it feels like any summer night in Sarasota. And now it's picking up again. What I'm worried about is the people that have come out, because there's a lot of cars now that are out here. They shouldn't be. But the police said, listen, we're not coming back out until after the storm. So these people know that the cops aren't going to be out here. And, you know, there's, again, looky-loos, people being cavalier. I'm going to show you one right now.
Oké, omdat het zo rustig is, zien we ook weer wat auto's hier rijden.
You know, they're pickup trucks.
Maar dat is geen goed idee, want de rest moet nog komen. En de politie die komt niet buiten voordat de storm voorbij is. Maar ik denk dat die donuts wel gaan helpen. Dan komen ze wel.
It's eerie. There is almost a beauty to it, because you're in this storm that has been battering the area for hours and hours and hours, and all of a sudden there's this calm, and yet you see the destructive nature on the backside, which is what you're going to be experiencing here in the next hour, 2 hours. Does it seem like most people have heeded the warnings? Does it seem like most people have evacuated?
Hebben de meeste mensen geëvacueerd en geluisterd naar de waarschuwingen?
The eye came over us, and then we started seeing all these pickups and all these cars coming through here. So it was calm, it was quiet, it looked like it's safe. Look, we're staying in a hotel on the water, and people have come out. There are people staying in the hotel. This is an evacuation zone, though. But I think some of the people in the hotels that are high up, our hotel is very high up. I'd say it's probably maybe 50 to 100 feet up.
Ja, zijn eigen hotel is hoog genoeg.
You know, we feel very protected here. But again, I got to tell you, Gotti, the water here, it's wild. It's coming in.
Het water is wild.
Coming in is pretty fast. So I think over the next 4 or 5 hours, we're going to see some serious flooding in Sarasota. I mean, it was forecasted. It's just the question is how high it's going to be. You see, this is
In Sarasota hij verwacht dat er toch nog veel water komt en overstromingen.
The storm surge was particularly, it was a huge concern a little bit north of you, and it looks like that is now shifted south. Does it look like the storm surge is already starting to set in where you are?
Yeah, look, it looks like it's coming in. I mean, the big fear was the storm surge in Tampa Bay, that black swan event. Luckily, and not luckily for other communities, but luckily for Tampa Bay, the storm, you know, it hit a little south of Tampa. If it hit north, it'd be a much different
Ja, ik vind het interessant, maar ik moet eigenlijk even pissen.
And that's why people here are concerned.
Dus ik laat je even alleen met NBC, de livestream.
It's going to be a much different story. Gotti, I'm going to pick up our coverage now because I know our colleague Priscilla Thompson is standing by in Orlando. She's been covering the tornadoes and the tornado threats throughout the central and eastern part of the state. Priscilla, what can you tell us tonight?
Yeah, so we know that there have been dozens of reported tornadoes throughout central and southern part of the state, and we've seen some pretty dramatic footage of the damage. In St. Lucie County, there was a sheriff's building that is now just a pile of mangled metal, and we're talking about a 10,000 square foot building that has just been destroyed by a reported tornado. We also got some traffic cam in from Fort Pierce, Florida, where you just see these huge debris flying by as there is a funnel cloud there. And there are also reports of some injuries in some places as a result of these tornadoes. The good news is that a number of those tornado watches did expire at 9 p.m. So there's hopes that we will not see any more of that tonight, but certainly a very terrifying experience on top of an already very destructive and potentially deadly storm. Tom?
Okay, Priscilla Thompson for us. Priscilla, we appreciate it. We thank you for all your reporting. Please stay safe. I do want to talk to the emergency management operator for Sarasota County, where we are tonight. Oh, okay. I think we're gonna dial in and talk to her soon. Do we still have Priscilla? All right, Priscilla. We still have you, so I think we're gonna stick with you for a little bit. But while we do this, I want to show that the people we're talking about, people in the looky-loos not taking things seriously. There's a couple on a motorcycle right now, just going through a massive hurricane. Again, we're in the eye, so it's calm, but probably not the best idea, especially when the storm surge has started. You can see it here. The water is rising, and it's actually rising surprisingly fast. I mean, I've covered hurricanes before, and you see that storm surge come in, but you can actually see the rate at which the water's coming in. pushing some of the debris. Luckily, there were no debris piles out here on the coast of Sarasota. We know that in the neighborhoods and the suburbs there are, but thankfully they cleared out all that debris here. The wind's still not that strong. Priscilla, I'm curious, where you are in Orlando, what kind of effects are you feeling from the hurricane?
Yeah, Tom. So the rain is starting to come down harder. Already we're seeing some water beginning to pool on some of the roadways here, and the winds are also starting to pick up. And so right now officials are saying if you are not yet sheltering, you have about a half hour to do that before the worst of this storm is expected to move in and make things a lot more complicated here. And what is interesting about this area is that during Hurricane Ian, they saw devastating flooding, and Milton is expected to be far worse. We're talking about up to 14 inches of rain here that could just cause catastrophic flooding in addition to the 80-mile-per-hour winds. And there are people who have evacuated to this area. I spoke to a woman who lives in St. Petersburg, said that she lost everything during Hurricane Helene. All that she has left there is a 10-foot by 10-foot storage unit that is on the first floor in St. Petersburg with all of her life's possessions. They drove up here to Orlando today, and she is just numb. She says that she doesn't know what to expect. I want to play a little bit of that conversation I had with her.
You're really kind of numb. You're really just kind of numb. We've all been in shock. Just your adrenaline just takes over. We've been through a lot of suffering, so I think we understand suffering in just such different ways, and I know that we get through it.
And so many people here just feeling lost. And that woman, I don't know if you could see, was clutching a rosary. And she told me that she has been praying nonstop, hoping that this storm will not be as bad as it is projected to be, especially here in Orlando, where she and her family are sheltering. Tom?
All right, Priscilla, we thank you for that. We have Sandra Tapfumane on the phone right now. She's in charge of the emergency management for Sarasota County. Sandra, thanks for joining us once again in our special coverage. You know, the eye is passing over Sarasota. It's been very calm, at least where we have been for the last hour or so. The winds are now starting to pick up. Have you gotten any reports about any kind of emergency situation so far? And what are you monitoring?
Testing.
Yeah, hi. Thanks so much for having us on. Yeah, so right now we have not gotten too many reports of any emergencies. We do anticipate that to increase as the eye wall or the eye passes over the county. Right now it was going over Siesta Key and starting to hit inland a little bit. So it is eerily calm here, and we know that that's not going to be the case in a short time. We're expecting the storm to deteriorate with the conditions.
Yeah, you know, I'm here live in Sarasota. We're right by the bay. The storm surge, you can actually see it coming up now. I'd say it's about ankle high where we are, and we're a little bit above sea level here, so it's coming in. Have you gotten reports about the storm surge yet?
So we did see, we were watching some Department of Transportation cameras along the Philippi Creek, and it looked like it was starting to flood that area, and some reports about Venice Beach having a couple of feet of storm surge down south. So yeah, so it's starting, it is starting, and I anticipate that, you know, we're going to have multiple feet. We're really hoping that we're not going to get that high end of the 12-foot projection at this point. I mean, we just had Hurricane Helene that created...
We luisteren naar Sandra Tapfumane.
Anywhere above that, really any storm surge.
Die zit in Sarasota.
Going to be a very, very catastrophic situation for the county.
What are you hearing about power outages here?
Van de Emergency Management System.
In the distance, have you got any reports about that?
Yeah, we are starting to hear about different parts of the county that are without power.
Horen ze iets over wat eraan zit te komen?
So we are trying to get an assessment from FPL to get a total count of how many are out. But you know, that was an anticipation with the high winds. You know, 120-mile-per-hour winds is definitely going to take out a lot of the power.
Is het te veel om te vragen om daar gewoon een HD-camera van te maken? Jongens.
And you anticipate that to increase.
All right, Sandra Tapfumane, we appreciate you, and I know we're going to stay in contact throughout the night. Thank you for all that you're doing for the people of Sarasota.
En dankjewel, Sandra.
When we come back, we're going to have much more from Hurricane Milton. The winds are starting to pick up here in Sarasota as the eye passes us. What else is happening around the state? Stay with us.
Oké, Sarasota is... er is het nog rustig. En dat komt omdat ze in de eye of the storm zitten, de middel. Ze hebben even wat wind gehad. Er komt straks nog meer wind aan. Maar op dit moment vrij rustig daar. We zagen ook beelden uit Orlando. Tampa Bay. En so far ziet het er nog niet heel eng uit. Maar ze roepen steeds, the worst is yet to come. Zo, misschien dat het nog wat erger wordt zometeen. We kijken NBC Nieuws. En dat doen we omdat hij op dit moment, voor zover ik hier kan beoordelen, de beste live coverage geven. Ze zitten nu wel in een commercial break. Dus we gaan even wachten tot ze weer terug live zijn. En als het goed is, moet het 10 tot 15 minuten duren voordat de Eye of the Storm voorbij is in Tampa. En dus even kijken wat er dan nog achteraan komt. Wij gaan dat doen. Ondertussen ga ik even wat te drinken pakken. Tot zo.
Hey there, I'm Hallie, and we are coming on the air tonight with a new development. Let's talk about the implications on women's health and then the political fallout. Start with what this law actually will and won't do. Cruise officials will do almost anything they can to get it back open ASAP. So how S is the P? In other words, how soon will it be open?
I could keep talking until the Eiffel Tower starts sparkling.
Now you've laid down the gauntlet, so we have to continue to speak until it starts to sparkle. It's sparkling. It's happening.
Ja, die reclame hebben we nou niet nodig, toch? We hebben live problemen. Come on. Ja, dat dacht ik ook. Oh.
Welcome back to our live coverage of Hurricane Milton. The situation here in Sarasota is starting to turn dire. At first we had, okay, we're gonna go, we gotta go.
Wow, that is a
I'm gonna send
live
it
look
back to you
right
guys.
now.
Guys,
Whoa.
we're okay, we just wanna move inside.
Now shit is happening.
Wow. If you're joining us live, we're watching Tom Yamas and his team
Yeah.
fall back right now. Just moments ago, Tom Yamas was in the eye of the storm. It was completely quiet. There were people driving around. There was not that storm surge that you're seeing. And now all of a sudden, within a matter of a minute or two, it is complete chaos where he is. The wind gusts are picking up. You see those flashes of light. You see what look like transformers blowing in the background, and that storm surge has come in. Again, we are watching this live feed of Tom Yamas and his team falling back to safety.
It is a twister.
A few minutes ago, you saw Tom. He was walking out there in the street. He was walking in relative calm. We were just talking about how eerie.
Ja, Tom zat net lekker op zijn gemak te vertellen hoe rustig het was in de Eye of the Storm.
You see the footsteps there in the storm surge that is rising there in Sarasota. Incredible images. We're going to wait for Tom Yamas to reposition in a safer position. They've got a lot of different fallback locations throughout that area, and so they're going to be falling back to one of those safer positions. But for now, joining me from Sarasota as well is storm chaser Ben McMillan. Ben, did you see
een storm chaser.
all of a sudden the backside of the wall comes screaming in just like Tom's team there?
Yeah, Gaddy, some really scary moments. You saw some of the power flashes, the explosions in Sarasota. We've moved north to Bradenton, and you can see now significant storm surges coming in off the bay here.
Whoa!
In the area here, and the conditions are really going downhill quickly. So last few moments here have gotten extremely violent with the wind, and I think it's definitely safe to say the storm's not over yet.
That's not looking good.
And Ben, you've been outside all day. How quickly have you seen things change from the storm, from the eye, and then back to what you're experiencing now?
Ja, net zolang als jouw commercial break duurde, denk ik.
Revealing thing is how quickly we had a calm eye probably just 15 minutes ago. I was out here standing talking with my crew. We have a paramedic and a photographer, and we had no issues. And now you can see I can barely even stand I've been able to step back and show you I'm knee-deep in water. So this water was not here. The winds were calm. So that just shows you how dangerous these storms are and how violent they can be.
Ja,
I'm now seeing power flashes in the distance.
het is een gevaarlijk business om een stormchaser te zijn.
This particularly intense part of the storm. Sure. Joining us now is Jamie Roan. She is the Deputy Director of the National Hurricane Center. Thank you so much for being...
We gaan naar Jamie, een ambtenaar.
We're in the landfall window. The timing has moved up literally a few hours ago, and it's become stronger, bigger. It's making landfall, and now we're seeing the backside of that wall go through. Can you walk us through what we're seeing right now?
Het maakt al de hele tijd de landval.
Yeah, unfortunately, all of the hazards that were predicted with this particular landfall are unfolding. You can see it in some of the footage ahead of this segment. So let's start first with the heavy rain. So the heavy rain is along into the north of where the center is tracking. That is placing that heavy rain and that flash flooding. And this is not typical rain. This is seriously intense rainfall rates.
Okay, intense heavy rain.
Move along the I-4 corridor overnight, so that's Lakeland.
Gaat naar het noorden.
The worst of the surge, which is where the footage was earlier, is down here, south of where it made landfall. So it made landfall at Siesta Key. So the worst of the surge is this Port Charlotte, Venice area.
Oké, Port Charlotte, een beetje zuid van Tampa, daar maakt hij landval.
A major hurricane moved ashore here, and so this.
En dat brengt regen mee, wat ook naar het noorden gaat, richting Orlando.
Gust of over 102 miles per hour. These extreme winds are just moving inland, and with it, you're just getting exponential rise in power outages as this core moves slowly inland.
En dat is wel een probleem in Amerika, hè? Die power outages.
Bulk of our teams are. You're starting to see the backside of the storm come in. How much storm?
De stroomverbindingen, stroomlijnen, die zitten niet onder de grond, maar die staan op oude telegraafpalen.
Hold up to those types of conditions, so we don't have anything to measure it or.
En dat is een recept voor ellende.
When you get that sort of onshore wind at a big hurricane, you're going to get every bit of that 9 to 13.
And what are your biggest concerns as you see the hurricane now making landfall and ripping across Florida there?
Wat zijn je grootste zorgen?
It's unfortunately impacting a densely populated portion of Florida. This I-4.
Ja, het is een dichtbevolkt gebied.
Orlando and Daytona.
Orlando, Daytona.
And some of the worst of the conditions are going to ride right along that area, exposing probably millions of people to these conditions.
Erger kan eigenlijk niet.
And we know that the storm surge, it doesn't seem like the storm surge concern for Tampa has materialized, but where are the places that are going to be hit over the next few hours with the storm surge the worst?
Wat zijn de plaatsen waar het ergste gaat toeslaan?
One type of flooding with another. So instead of getting the saltwater flooding, they're now getting the intense flash flooding that is occurring from the heavy rains. The peak of the storm surge is just a little bit to the south because.
De zware regen is het grootste probleem. Het lijkt erop dat het een beetje ten zuiden van Tampa het ergste gaat worden.
Jamie Roan with the National Hurricane Center, thank you. And we are continuing our special coverage as Hurricane Milton makes landfall across Florida's Gulf Coast near Siesta Key. As a dangerous
en we kijken naar een paar webcams.
Storm. This is a live look at the conditions right now in St. Petersburg, Florida. The monsters
St. Petersburg.
From a Category 5, but then grew in size. Impacts are going to be felt all across Florida, even up to southern Georgia, and flooding and power outages.
Heel Florida zal het gaan voelen, maar zelfs ook Georgia.
And storm surge, as we were just hearing, could reach up to 15 feet in some parts. Tornadoes have also been making things much more dangerous as dozens of reported twisters earlier ripped up some communities hours before landfall. All of this happening just 2 weeks since Hurricane Helene slammed into Florida, forcing people in hard.
En dit gebeurt allemaal net 2 weken na Hurricane Elena.
Could be a hazard in front of their homes, before Milton's arrival, that's some of those debris piles that you're seeing right now. Hopefully those debris piles, the most of them...
Ja, je vraagt je soms af, waarom gaan ze niet met beton bouwen?
And as the winds rip through, you can see how those debris piles can turn very, very dangerous. NBC News meteorologist Angie Lastman joins us now. Angie, I mean, that was incredible.
We gaan even naar Angie,
But that shot,
de weervrouw.
earlier,
Vroeger was die man, nu is hij weer vrouw.
this eerie calm, right? And then as soon as we went to him, in a matter of seconds, everything turned and he was just being tossed around and they had to fall back. So can you walk us through what they experienced with those winds as the wall went over them?
Yeah, so they experienced the pressure drop in the eye. They experienced the extreme calm where you can even sometimes hear frogs and bugs outside. And then they experienced the worst of what Hurricane Milton has to offer when it comes to those winds. We know that the eye wall is where the strongest winds live. And where Tom is, they aren't actually the worst of it per se, because you move a little farther to the north and you'll really start to see things ramping up, but it isn't pretty. It is not something that you want to be out in for sure. And you'll, when I show you these wind reports that we've got in over the past hour or so, you're going to be impressed. One thing to note, we've got a flash flood emergency going on across Tampa. No surprise. We have reported 5 inches of rain in the St. Petersburg area in 1 hour. There was already over a foot of rain that has happened in the past 24 hours. So you can just put into perspective what that means for the flooding.
5 inches of rain in the St. Petersburg area.
Deep reds kind of sitting over that area. And this is likely going to continue. We're talking catastrophic flooding occurring with this rain.
Dat is toch niet heel veel, 5 inches.
So it's not, of course, just the wind. It's not, of course, just the rain. We've also got the storm.
Ik hoor altijd van vrouwen van, nou die 5 inches van jou, dat valt wel mee.
This area is going to continue to see. Here are some of the wind speeds that we've already recorded. Bradenton, 96 miles per hour, Gotti. We've got the same going for St. Petersburg. Again, that north side of that eye really is where the more substantial...
Dit zijn serieuze windsnelheden. Doe dat een keer 1,5 en dan weet je wat het in kilometer per uur is.
Those hurricane force winds ongoing here. And this is what we're going to see here as it works across, unfortunately,
Dan heb je shit.
Florida. So even as it's over central Florida here, as we get into the overnight hours, it's still going to have really aggressive winds. So we could see some of that wind destruction working across this region instead of just kind of confined to the coast. And when we usually see these storms really significantly weaken over land, but Florida is just essentially not that wide. So that's going to hold together. And remember, it came on shore as a Category 3. It still had a whole lot of steam in it as it made landfall. Here are some of the wind gusts we've seen in the past hour. 82 miles per hour in Tampa, even inland for Winter Haven in Orlando, over 50 miles per hour. The power outages are going to continue.
Het is heavy shit, maar ik denk dat je het uit kan rijden.
That's going to expand here as the night goes on for folks across the middle of the state. And here's why. Notice this little red kind of circle right around the center of that
die
system.
zien we.
Those are the hurricane force winds. So look, they'll work across the state. And again, the damage is what you're going to be seeing. On top of that, the flash flood risk is going to be immense.
Ja, Tampa is waar het aan land komt.
More than 6 inches in Tampa, already 2 inches in Orlando. These are saturated grounds.
Maar dat gaat door richting Orlando en zelfs de Space Coast.
Those outer bands as it works across the state.
Angie Lastman, thanks so much for keeping an eye on all of that. 6.75 in Tampa so far. It's incredible. Let's bring in NBC News correspondent Sam Brock, who is in Fort Myers, a little bit south right now.
Fort Myers.
What are you seeing on the ground right now? And
Wat
are we
gebeurt daar?
starting to see an escalation in the storm surge?
A material change in just the last hour, Gotti. To situate this for you, I'm in a parking garage so that we're safe in Fort Myers on the 4th or 5th floor. Sound structure. We have a bird's eye view from up here, and if you look down, this is downtown Fort Myers. I would say, at least at last check, when I walked down there, a couple of feet of water have just flooded the streets here. It's coming from the nearby river, the Caloosahatchee River, which was basically...
Ja, dat water is wel shit.
A couple of hours ago when we were live for nightly...
Ziet er niet heel erg uit, maar dat water is shit.
From every which direction, and I know from our vantage point, again, for safety, you're not going to be able to see all of this, but you, I'm sure, see all of the pooling within this street. There's a parking garage sort of catty-corner from where we are right now, and I'm looking at the water levels reach about the second or third step. and continue to rise. I just see someone kind of checking out and walking back into the parking garage, probably have the same idea that we do, which is to say there is definite storm surge here. And, you know, you're hearing these reports of major flood stage situations in places like Punta Gorda, in Naples, which is about 25 or 30 minutes south of where I am, certainly north. I know you were just talking with Angie about Tampa and Sarasota, although initially Tampa had that weird anti-surge situation going on. But now a lot of these cities, and you feel the wind coming in, gusts that are pretty close to, I would say, hurricane strength if they aren't. Listen to that. That's the palm trees just swaying back and forth, physically being moved. You're just seeing flooding, and I can't even imagine what we're going to be looking at tomorrow morning. We were just talking about, like, we hope we can get out of this garage, because right now it's a couple of feet. And
ja, live van Fort Myers, Florida.
Tomorrow morning.
En ja, wat kijken we morgenochtend? Wat zullen we morgenochtend zien?
Things go dark. Look at this whole street. Look at this. Okay, all of the street lights are now simmering.
Hup, de straatlichten gaan uit.
We saw a big transformer blow. We saw the lightning hit, and then all of a sudden it is pitch black behind you.
And there we go.
This is
We hebben geen stroom meer. En dat is Kilo Utrecht Tango.
I know that there was a little bit of a wobble here with this hurricane. It kind of started to dip south. So the trajectory was a little bit different than what people expected. What are the biggest concerns right now in Fort Myers?
Storm surge. Now, as it pertains to Fort Myers specifically, and a number of the other counties, like Lee County, as of about an hour or two ago, still had deputies in the streets. I would doubt that's the case now. Many of these other localities do not want to put first responders in harm's way by going up to try to rescue people who chose not to evacuate in the middle of the storm. Once you get to about 45 miles an hour or greater on sustained winds, they're just not going to do it. So that's point A.
Yeah.
Point B, we're in downtown Fort Myers, and I think this is definitely worthy of clarification. Fort Myers is coastal in a sense. You know, we're not far from the Gulf, but you got to go all the way about another 8 or 10 miles to get to those barrier islands. This is all in an evacuation zone we would not be able to access.
Ja, als je gewoon in de achterbuurt daar woont, heb je er misschien niet zoveel last van, maar ja, ga het risico niet lopen.
These thin little causeways and bridges that are not like the sturdiest things you've ever seen. And so during Ian, they ruptured. People couldn't get on and off of some of the islands. The death toll for Ian, and I'm using that as a reference point here, was 150 people, give or take, 70 in this county. So once you start talking about storm surge getting up there 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 feet.
Ja, dat is duidelijk. I agree.
I believe, and it certainly seems for all appearances, that enough people evacuated that you had a lot of people get out that could have potentially drowned. But we heard that the shelters, you can again feel this wind really kicking up, the shelters had about 100,000 people across the state, according to DeSantis and the Department of Emergency Management when they briefed a little while ago. Earlier it was like 30,000. Now they're reporting 100,000. It's true in Lee County where I am as well. Started the day at 1,600, 7,000 people in shelters here.
Oké, heel veel mensen hebben geluisterd naar het advies om weg te gaan. 30.000 mensen werden opgevangen in noodopvang. Dit keer was het 100.000, dus mensen hebben geluisterd.
Watching your shot, everything was so calm, eerily calm. And then all of a sudden, I thought this was like playback or something. I could not believe that this was happening live because it happened so quickly. What was it like on your side of the winds?
Ja, hoe kon het zo snel in een echte hurricane veranderen? Vanuit de eye of the storm.
It may fire back up again once their generators kick on, but this just happened. You see it right there.
Wow.
Listen, Gotti, this is the craziest part of this hurricane right now.
Hey, ze hebben stroom terug.
I passed. Bill Cairns told me, he said, get ready for it. And you're right, it was incredibly calm. And then I'd say within minutes, it got incredibly dangerous. We were reporting, I think we have the clip there, and I was just basically saying how the situation was growing dire. We were watching that storm surge come in, and then a transformer, I think, exploded over our head, and that's when I realized it was getting too dangerous. We brought the entire team back. We're completely fine. We're surrounded by concrete here. We're high up. I do want to show you the storm surge. Here's the clip right now.
Ja, dat zag er echt heel rustig uit in het begin.
Okay, we're gonna go. We gotta go.
En toen kwam The Edge.
We don't want to take any chances there. Okay, we just want to move inside. Yeah, we didn't want to take any chances at that point, Gotti. It obviously turned very fast. And I got to tell you, there were a lot of cars, there were a lot of people that were out, trying to see what the hurricane felt like and looked like because we were in the eye. And again, it was within minutes, it completely changed. This storm surge is coming in so fast. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this. I've covered a lot of hurricanes. This has definitely been the strongest one I've covered this season so far. But look at that. I don't know if you can tell because it's so dark, but that's a garage, Gotti, and the first floor of the garage is almost completely inundated. What you're seeing there is the
eerste verdieping van die parkeergarage die is overflown.
It's not stopping. The wind is ripping through here right now. I'm sure our weather unit knows how fast it's coming. I'm glad we're inside.
En de wind die snijdt door het gebied.
But you can see how it's ripping these oak trees and how it's ripping the palm trees. We're starting to see projectiles, nothing too serious, but branches, any kind of debris, garbage that was left over, it's all flying around. The power is out in Sarasota, and this is the brunt of Hurricane Milton. This is what Hurricane Milton was all about. That eye, it is so deceiving because it makes people think, oh, it's over, it's not that bad, there was too much hype, and then the backside of that hurricane hits you, and this is what it is right now. We experienced it up close, and I gotta tell you again, Gotti, it was just within minutes.
Ja, het is niet heel gevaarlijk om in de eye of the hurricane te zitten. Dat is lekker rustig.
Starting to fly off the roof of some of these hotels and these condos.
Maar het begin en vooral het einde,
But kind of like the air conditioning fans at the
that means shit.
seeing those fly around as well. It speaks to the gravity of the situation here in Sarasota. I really hope those people that were out in their pickup trucks doing donuts during the eye are back in a safe spot because this is getting wild.
De donuts, die zijn er nog steeds. Dat is wel een geruststellende gedachte.
Now, I'm not sure who we have there live. This is a fluid situation.
Dan komt de politie tenminste nog.
Stephanie, we just got whipped with the back end of the hurricane. I got to tell you, it's the real deal. What are you guys feeling there in Tampa?
Terug naar Tampa.
Honestly, we are getting the brunt of it here as well, Tom. Ferocious winds in the last hour. And just to give you an idea, I was standing up on a box for a moment and a gust came through and basically almost knocked me off of where I was standing. And I'm in an area that's protected. So the winds, 70, 80, 90, even 100 miles an hour.
100 miles an hour.
Now in Tampa. You know, you've been talking a lot this week about Hurricane Helene and the effect that it had on this area.
Ik ga even checken wat 100 miles an hour in kilometers is. Hang on.
Milton is both water and it is wind. And when we talk about the water, we're not going to get the surge here in Tampa Bay that they were so worried about, the catastrophic surge. But what you are getting is an unbelievable amount of rain, Tom. There's a period right now, and it's going to stretch for the next 2 or 3 hours, where we are getting upwards of 2 to 3 inches of rain an hour.
Oké, winds of 100 miles an hour, 100 mijl per uur. In het Nederlands zou dat 160 kilometer per uur zijn. In mijn carrière heb ik in de auto gezeten met soms wel windstoten van tegen de 100 kilometer per uur. Maar dit is 160, 1,5 keer zoveel. Holy crap.
Storm surge, or are you guys further inland and you can't really see it at this point?
We are not on the bay specifically. We are about a mile away, but there are a couple of bodies of water around us. There was what was a small, what I would call pond earlier that looks more like a lake, and there was also a canal that is now much, much higher. So those water levels are certainly rising. The streets have water covering them, although I wouldn't say it was flooding. It's probably likely because the water is just landing so quickly and not draining yet. But you have to imagine that at some point it just becomes oversaturated. We are getting flash flood warnings, or those repeated loud sirens on our phones saying that it is a life-threatening flash flood situation here in Tampa, where our equipment is actually getting blown over now by some of these gusts of wind, even though we're standing in a place that has walls on 2 or 3 sides right now, Tom.
All right, Stephanie Goss, you and your team, please stay safe. The situation is getting pretty dangerous here in Sarasota. There's debris. Look, George, shoot this over here. You see debris. This is basically some type of vinyl siding that's been ripped off. It looked like it was a portico by these tennis courts here, and now it's just getting tossed around.
Ja, vital siding, dat is gewoon
transformers are exploding around us. Jesse, you're literally one level
Stukje afgewaaid.
protected structure. This just got really wild. This is way more intense than what we experienced during Helene.
Hey, Tom. Yep, Tom. I'm going to have David.
Erger dan met Helene.
We're going to watch it for our own safety as well. It is skidding across the top there. And if that blows our way, Tom, that's a real problem. So just bear with us. I know you guys are going to be watching this too. It's flying. Oh
Ja, dit is wel shit, hè?
Tom, that is unbelievable. That is a huge piece of metal siding flying in the air right now. And we're going to... Okay, look at it. It's pinned to the side of that garage. And I can tell you, Tom, before the lights went out down there, that the first floor of that parking garage is filled with water. There was a trash can floating in there. And I've been watching the...
Zie je links bovenin Sarasota. 102 mijl per uur wind. Het is gewoon 160 of meer kilometer per uur wind. Dan wil je niet buiten zijn.
Have been pleading for evacuations. Tom, I have to tell you, we're less than 2 weeks since Helene made landfall, and we now know from the county they have close to, at last check, close to 10,000 people in county shelters here in Sarasota. The county says that is the highest volume of people they have ever had come to a shelter in the history of their evacuations. That echoes what we've been hearing on the ground here from people. Helene changed their perspective on these storms. It was the hardest hit, the mayor told me, compared to others that they've had in this community. And hopefully that inspired more people to get out early enough, because we're now seeing how
Ja, dat is een beetje te laat, denk ik.
all this rain whipping around, you would not have a chance to be driving through this safely. We know the police are off the roads. And with
Ja, maar je moet ook niet in de auto gaan stappen met dit weer. Als je er eenmaal blijft, dan blijf je thuis en dan ga je op zolder zitten, toch?
Saw driving the wrong way towards the barrier islands during the eye of the storm. I hope those cars were able to turn back around and get out. My photographer George Puhol here is going to move in a little bit so we can keep an eye on some of the debris flying. But I also want to show our viewers the storm surge that you and I are experiencing right now. George, if you can even come a little lower here. We're above sea level at the compound where we're staying here in this hotel and parking garage. And if you
Ik heb het nooit meegemaakt, maar een oom van mij wel. 1953, Zeeland.
Jesse, what's that? Say that again.
Well, my hat.
Dat moet ook zoiets geweest zijn, hè?
At this point, you know, the winds are so powerful, I didn't even have a chance to catch up with that thing to hold it down. So that is what we're dealing with right now. The winds are really thrusting, and obviously we're in the garage for our safety, right? We've got these walls that can keep us grounded and protected in a way that we wouldn't normally think about because of the concern about all that debris that's out there, Tom. And all of that potentially, I think, might be funneling the wind through here in a way to make it, flying past us more quickly. But we're looking in all directions. We've got our team's eyes in every direction up here because we do not know what is out there. And we heard, the sound of that debris skidding across that blacktop over there really was chilling, Tom.
You know, Jesse, it's interesting. I'm looking at these palm trees that are just behind us, right? They would be to your left if you're looking at the camera.
Ja, die palmbomen.
Absolutely shredded right now. And these palm trees are so interesting. You know, they survive these storms because they're perfectly round and their roots get stronger as they bend. But the tops of them, those palm fronds, are completely getting shredded. And it takes a lot of hurricane wind. I'm going to ask George to back up a little bit because we're getting some debris that's kind of flying a little too close.
Ja, die palmbomen, daar gaat het niet goed mee aflopen. Maar dat is niet het grootste probleem wat we hebben, geloof ik.
The thing that I can't get over, though, is the storm surge. It is moving fast. It's almost taken over the first floor completely, the first story of that parking garage. And we're just getting started here, right? We have another 1, 2, 3 hours of this type of intensity.
Yeah, and again, Tom, going back to the palm trees for a moment, those are not light, feathery leaves. Those are pretty sturdy and essentially like giant pieces of plywood. And in fact, in Hurricane Helene, when that was making landfall, a tiny piece of debris from one appeared to have hit me, and that actually sent our team back inside to safety. And I can tell you, it's not like getting hit with a leaf off of a typical tree. So the fact that those things are being snapped off and just shredded like you were describing just speaks to the ferocity of this wind. That is not an easy lift.
Jesse, I'm showing the viewers now where we are so they understand that we can stay safe while we report on this massive hurricane that is hitting Sarasota right now. These are concrete walls. We are surrounded by concrete. We're high up. We have cars that are protecting us from the wind shear. I do want to show you another angle of the storm surge here. I'm going to ask our friend George to come down. And George, just point that camera down if you can. You can see the stop sign down there. Hopefully, that stop sign is already halfway covered in water. You can see it right there. And you can actually see the waves. That current is the storm surge that's coming in right now off the bay. And it's coming inland to Sarasota. The interesting thing that we were seeing when we were down there before we had to pull out because it was too dangerous was that the storm surge felt like it was coming from every angle. You were seeing water come in from different avenues, from different streets in different directions, which essentially gives you the sign. It tells you that you're being surrounded by water. It's another reason why we had to come up here. But I got to tell you, the water is rising, I'd say inches in seconds, which is why it's so dangerous. When they talk about that wall of water, it is the truth.
Inches in seconds, the water is rising. Dus daar gaat hard.
And, you know, we only have eyes on 3 sides of this because of the safety element you were just talking about, right? Over here, we know there's water. We know there's water off on this side street to the right, and then on the main road behind us, on the other side of our cameras.
There's water everywhere.
But I'm wondering about the main drag heading over by the marina, because I can tell you, before landfall, in the last couple of days, we saw a boat that was partially submerged in the marina area from the aftermath of Helene. And again, this storm was expected to bring twice as much storm surge, and we are looking at really powerful winds. And so I'm really curious to know what that looks like. And obviously, when it is safe enough, when it is light enough, we will get an idea of the damage over there. But there are a lot of boats out in the water, Tom.
Ja, dat klopt. Eigenlijk zien we morgen pas wat echt de schade is die nu wordt gegenereerd.
You know, I lived through Hurricane Andrew. I was about 12, 13 years old when Andrew hit Miami back in 1992. And it changed the building codes all over Florida, right? People realized the power of a hurricane, especially a direct hit. What happens if windows break and wind gets in, it can lift off roofs. So our viewers seen all these giant skyscrapers, all these big buildings in Sarasota. They may be wondering how these things survive. They usually have storm impact windows, right? Those windows are very, very strong. They usually can withstand winds up to 165 miles per hour. What they can't withstand sometimes are projectiles. I mean, they are high impact, but you got to be really, really careful. Luckily, we don't see anything flying in the air that high right now. What I am noticing in those buildings, though, the power is out. There is no power. What's up is generator power, and it's just emergency lights at this point. We're up and we're running with lights, but we're on battery right now, and that's the way we're able to broadcast to you live. I understand we have a storm chaser in Daytona who's been following the storm for us as well. Daytona's far from us. It's on the east coast of Florida, but the storm is so big that everyone in Florida is experiencing something. What are you seeing there in Daytona?
Oké, we gaan naar Daytona. Dat is in de oostkust. Dus de andere kant van waar het landfall maakt.
We lost our storm chaser. It's okay. It's going to happen in a live situation. I'm going to stick with Jesse right now because the story seems to be right here in Sarasota. Jesse, you were here a couple of days longer than I was, covering what was going on here. You saw some of those debris piles, you told me, further inland. It felt like people got out of Sarasota. We were seeing businesses boarded up. Is that the sense you got? And were they able to tackle those debris piles? Or was it sort of too much and not enough time like it was in Tampa?
Yeah, I think, Tom, that it was too much. We know from the governor that he said they were working 24/7, but he also says they only got 50% off the barrier islands. Wow, that's a really strong gust. I can hear it through your mic, and we just got the wind shifted directions and got a rush of water to the face. There's definitely still a lot of debris out there. The mayor had told me yesterday that well before landfall, they had stopped collecting debris, and there were still piles as I was walking with her in a ghost town, effectively, street out on the barrier island. I also can tell you, Tom, I know you are no stranger to covering these either. Oh, man, that's really rushing through. When we come to town, right, we stock up like everyone else. Food, gas, non-perishable food, gas, water, gas cans, so we can have extra fuel on hand. And I got to tell you, Tom, it felt like those things were harder to find earlier this time around. And that echoes what I heard from the mayor. What we get the sense from in these communities is that people are on edge in a way they aren't typically because of what Helene did in this community already. Again, I saw a waist-high watermark in a home not too far from where I am right now, on a barrier island just up the road. And that was from the last storm. this one is supposed to be more ferocious, and you got to hope that more people are taking it seriously. And from what we're hearing from officials, that seems to be the case, Tom.
All right, Jesse Kirsch. Jesse, you and your team stay safe. I know you're close by. I want to go to Chase Kane right now. He's our national climate reporter. A tornado, I'm being told, has just touched down in Daytona. That's where Chase is right now. Chase, what do you know?
Gotti, cannot confirm that this is a tornado, but I've been taking a look at the live radar, and there is definitely rotation in this storm. That's why we are well inside the loading dock of our hotel here. We have a safe place that we can take cover, but you can probably see here behind me just how strong these winds are. So we have that combination of both the sustained tropical storm force winds with the rotation in these storms that we've been talking about all afternoon. The National Weather Service office in Miami set a record for the most tornado warnings issued in one day today. As of last check earlier, we had well over a dozen confirmed tornadoes. I mean, you can see what the trees are doing here. Even the gate next to this loading dock here. The vehicle that just drove by is a Volusia County Sheriff. The only vehicles that we've seen lately are official vehicles because there is a mandatory curfew. There's a mandatory evacuation order in place for this area where we are in Daytona Beach. I mean, would be tough to guess how strong these winds are, but it's been pretty ferocious here over the last, certainly over the last half hour or so, Gotti.
All right, Chase, it's Tom Llamas you're talking to here, but I know you're new with us, so that's all good. Please stay safe where you are in Daytona. We're going to check back with you a little later. George, I'm going to bring our photographer, photojournalist George Pujols back over here because I want to show how much the storm surge is growing here. I'd say it's climbing inches. Every minute or so, it gets more. And this is what they were afraid of here, right? It was a historic storm surge, a storm surge like they had never seen before. It's just getting started. We still have, I'd say, 1 or 2 hours of this intense weather. Our meteorologists will be able to give us a better sense of that. It's also such a big storm that there are different parts of the state being affected, including Orlando. I know we have Charles Salazar, who's live for us to help us out in our live coverage there. Charles, talk to us about what you're seeing in Orlando and what your big concerns are tonight.
All righty. First of all, thank you for having me here tonight, and thank you for the work that you guys do out there reporting the news, because that's really important to everybody. So in Orlando, we've witnessed quite a bit of rain, some rain bands that came through here. And we're really concerned about flooding, and so now the winds are starting to pick up. I think right now they're sustained at 30. You know, our rescue crews are going to be out there. They're going to be ready, but when the winds get to sustained 40 to 45, which we're expecting, then we have to pause operations and wait for that to stop before we can continue those operations. But, you know, we're concerned with falling trees. What we learned through Hurricane Ian, we learned that this could be a potential heavily flooded city. And so what we did this time is we pre-positioned our rescue boat assets throughout the city in those areas that flooded previously. So we're going to be ready for that. We are aware that there has been many tornadoes, and we're prepared for that. We've had tornado warnings here, nothing confirmed. But the men and women of the Orlando Fire Department, they're ready. They've been preparing for several days. They performed really well during Hurricane Ian, and we're ready to perform for this storm as well.
Charles Salazar from Orlando. Charles, we appreciate all that you're doing over there. Please stay safe tonight. Our continuing coverage live from Sarasota will continue right now. We are live in Sarasota as Hurricane Milton is striking this area. Stay with us.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, what's the plan?
Oké. Gaan we naar commercial of wat?
Okay.
Ik denk dat ze naar commercial gaan.
Okay, we're live right now from Sarasota. Our continuing coverage.
Nee, toch niet.
Milton. You are watching as the storm has already made landfall. This is the backside of the hurricane, the most powerful part of the hurricane, slamming into Sarasota right now. It made landfall just a bit north of us in Cedar Key, south of Tampa. That was somewhat of good news for Tampa because they were worried about the storm surge if it hit north of there. But right now, unfortunately, it's bad news for Sarasota. Feeling the brunt of Hurricane Milton, and we're seeing that storm surge happen as we come to you live right now. The wind just ripping completely the palm trees, power outages everywhere. We are experiencing transformers explode, and we're seeing trees being ripped apart in real time right now. We still haven't seen across the state of Florida as the wind is really picking up here. I'm going to have George back up a little bit.
Ja, het is wel shit.
As we set up here, if you're just joining our coverage, we are in a safe spot here. We're in a concrete garage on the 5th floor. There's no chance that the storm surge is going to get us. We are protected.
Als het echt serieus is, dan gaan ze de commercial break overslaan.
And one that we saw firsthand, we were in the middle of the eye, maybe about 30, 45 minutes ago, and the eye was just passing us, and within minutes the situation got incredibly precarious.
En blijkbaar is de achterkant van de eye erger dan de voorkant. Wist ik niet.
You can go from very calm when you're in the eye to the backside of the hurricane, which is happening right now. Again, as I mentioned, we have a team of reporters live tonight in Sarasota, in Tampa, in Fort Myers, all over the state of Florida, covering Hurricane Milton as it's made landfall and it's now cutting across what we call the I-4 corridor. I'm going to ask our control room to tell me one more time.
Oké, ik ga even aan de kant, dan kunnen we even kijken wat de mensen die daar wonen erover te zeggen hebben.
Our meteorologist is going to walk us through what's happening. Angie, talk to us about what's happening right now where we are in Sarasota.
Yeah, so Tom, you mentioned you went through the eye wall and you really saw the worst of it ramping up at a quick pace as expected. And on the backside of that eye wall, you see things wrapping around, and you can tell by some of the returns on here just how aggressive this rain, the wind is where you are right now. And that's only going to get worse here for the next maybe 30 to 45 minutes or so. And then we'll start to see things kind of tapering off a bit. Of course, you're not out of the woods. You're still going to deal with what's left to come for Milton here as it works more inland, but we've got some other things unfolding. Where Tom is right now, that's where we're really concerned about, of course, the wind and the rain, but the storm surge essentially from that point south, it is a tale of kind of two impacts. The storm surge for folks on that coastal region, and then we've got the really heavy rain, flash flood emergency ongoing across Tampa, and we've got, of course, the potential for those damaging, destructive winds with that eye wall working through these regions. So here's some of the rain that we're seeing right now. Notice the purple, the pinks, the reds. That is the extremely torrential rain falling in that region. We've seen multiple inches in just a span of an hour. In some spots, last hour, it was over 5 inches of that region. So no surprise that we've got this flash flood emergency ongoing. But look how expansive those flash flood warnings are across this region. This is the area on the north side of that system that we're really concerned about the heavy rainfall. And it stretches across the state because it is going to remain north side loaded with the heaviest of the rain and the strongest of the winds.
Eigenlijk heb ik maar één vraag. Als ik dit zo zie, waarom hebben wij Marion de Hond?
But they are not getting the storm surge. That, of course, is points south of there, and you can see that backside circulation starting to work.
I don't know, man.
We had reports 4 feet, 5 feet in places like Fort Myers, Naples. So that means we don't really have a whole lot of gauges in between there.
Hoe heet die
We're going to have
andere?
to wait and see with First Light what kind of unfolds when it comes to the storm surge for that region from Sarasota down to Fort Myers. But we likely will see that storm surge forecast from the National Hurricane Center verify if we're already at the point that we're at of 4, 5, 6 feet in some of these places that are farther away from where the center of that circulation is, and those onshore winds are continuing. So we're likely talking about much higher amounts closer to that system, of course. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how that plays out. No surprise, we've got a reverse storm surge happening in Tampa Bay. They've, of course, escaped the worst of it when it comes to the storm surge, but you saw the rainfall amounts, and you're about to see some of those wind reports that we've seen that have just been downright impressive as that system moves ashore. So that is what they're going to be dealing with when it comes to destruction and damage here through at least the next couple of hours. There's where we're, again, expecting the worst of that storm surge, 9 to 13 feet.
Oh ja, dat vroeg ik me af. Waarom hebben wij Marion de Hond en Gerrit Hiemstra, terwijl je ook dit kan hebben?
The mouth of that bay, we saw it with Ian. We saw the destruction when
I don't know, man.
And it's not hard for flooding to occur in that area. And this likely is going to be several miles inland for that region as we get closer to high tide time. Here's the winds that I was talking about. Over 90 miles per hour in a lot of spots. Bradenton, St. Petersburg, North Palm Beach, Venice.
Ja, dat is wel shit, man.
90 miles per hour. This is what we mean when we're talking about getting in that northerly part of that eye wall. And it's ongoing. The system well inland, 84 mile per hour winds for Tampa and St. Petersburg this hour. We've got Winter Haven up to 71 miles per hour. So the
Gewoon in het binnenland nog 71 mijl per hour. Dat is,
More than a million in the central Florida and parts of the
dat is wat wij in de kustprovincies hebben.
state dealing with power outages with how expansive these tropical storm force winds are, but especially these hurricanes.
Ja, en dan nog al die power outages.
Now, the flash flood risk. Notice as we get
Hebben we nooit last van hier eigenlijk, hè?
today and get into tomorrow morning, we're really going to be concerned about places like Orlando and stretching up to Daytona Beach. I said that northern side of the system, that is where a lot of rain is. We saw shear and a cold front interacting with the system before it moved onshore. That kind of made the northern side of the system really big and bulky, and the southern side of it a little wimpy. Of course, it didn't weaken it all that much, but this means
Big and bulky in the north and a little wimpy on the south.
Daytona Beach here as we get through, especially into tomorrow.
I like this.
We're still going to be watching this. One thing to note, we've got already saturated grounds. We've already had 8 inches of rain in Tampa here over the last 24 hours, and impressive amounts in a very short period of time. So when you're getting multiple 4 inches of rain per hour for 3 hours on end, we're talking double-digit rainfall amounts. So you may have escaped in parts of Tampa Bay the storm surge, but you're still going to see the flooding likely into homes, businesses, when it comes to the rainfall that's ongoing. And this, again, this is going to Orlando, Daytona Beach, those numbers are going to grow here as the system works across the state.
That's not looking good.
Flash flooding, it's going to stay with us through the day today into tomorrow. We could potentially see over a foot of rain in some spots, maybe even higher than that. A foot
Ziet er niet goed uit.
wouldn't be out of the question, Tom. So this is a multi-impact event, and on top of that, we still have the threat of tornadoes. Those will last here a little while longer, but of course, this is a multi-impact event that's going to continue.
A multi-impact event, remember that. Want dat heeft met subsidie te maken, denk
Angie,
ik.
before you go, one more thing. Do you know how long we're going to be feeling the hurricane force winds where we are here in Sarasota? Because we're really getting nailed right now.
Yeah, you've got a little while longer, probably another couple of hours, especially this system moving about 15 miles per hour. So you're going to be in it here for another couple of hours before you start to see.
Dat is ook leuk. Zien we hier ook nooit een weerman of weervrouw die praat met een reporter.
Rain, and of course, you know, the winds aren't going to completely relax, but the worst of it, you are in for a little while longer, Tom. Unfortunately.
All right, Angie, we thank you for that. We unfortunately got a bit of breaking news, and it's the worst type of news you want to report here.
Oh.
I'm being told by our control room that there was a tornado touchdown in Fort Pierce, Florida, and there are fatalities. As we get more information on this, we were going to bring it to you, but I'm being told now that there has been a tornado touchdown in Fort Pierce, and because of that, there have been...
Fort Pierce, we have fatalities. Dat betekent dat er mensen omgekomen zijn.
Spawning tonight. Joining us now live is the mayor of Zephyr Hills, which is just north of Tampa. Mayor, I know tonight is a dangerous night. I know the storm.
En we gaan weer even naar Tampa, naar de burgemeester.
Of Hurricane Milton right now, and what is your message to your viewers and to your residents?
Wat wil je zeggen tegen je kijkers en je inwoners?
Yeah, we are feeling the power of it right now. The winds keep gusting up. You know, we're pretty blessed that we're not getting a direct hit, but we know that others are, and it's very sad. We've had rain for about 5 hours straight. At 8:30, we already had 6.5 inches of rain. We've got flooding throughout our entire city. I guess at this point, majority of our residents are without power, and the ones that are lucky enough to have some probably won't in the next little bit.
Mayor, were you in touch with, I don't know if it's Duke Energy or FPL or which power company powers your community, but were you in touch with them, and did they tell you at what point they'll be able to get crews back out on the road? I know it's obviously not anytime soon, but will it be in the days or weeks ahead?
Yeah, so our city is actually has almost all of the different organizations that power our city, and they usually hit the ground running after it's the storm's safely gone through. With our last hurricane, it was within a day or two that they started hitting. You know, we can be without power probably 4 or 5 days. That happens here. but we're going to hope for the best. But we know that it's throughout the whole state. So I know that they're going to be doing the best they can to get all of us back online as soon as they can.
All right, Mayor, we appreciate your time. Please stay safe tonight, and I hope the residents of Zephyr Hills are able to ride this out. Jesse Kirsch is joining our live coverage once again. Jesse, I'm out here on the balcony just above where you are, and I'm looking out at the incredible scene we're watching unfold in front of our eyes right now. Vinyl siding being ripped off from different structures out here in Sarasota. A storm
Holy shit.
doesn't seem to stop. We're seeing palm trees getting completely shredded. I no longer can see the bay because of the sheets of rain that are out here, Jesse. And I just heard from Angie Lastman, one of our meteorologists, it's going to be like this for the next couple of hours.
We kijken naar heavy rain.
The idea of that, Tom, is kind of remarkable. We just saw another flash. I don't know if that was a transformer or lightning. But, you know, the idea that these conditions are going to persist. And with all this debris flying, Tom.
En de vraag is, die fles die je net zag, of dat
is the sound of that scraping of that metal
een transformatorhuisje was of bliksem.
our team safety just speaks to the force of these winds. And yet you can see the pieces of the top of that little shed on top of this deck. Oh man, look at that one. It just got picked up. Tom, I just lost sight of one of those pieces of debris. I don't know if you saw that too, but it just kicked up off the deck and went off into the distance towards the bay, Tom.
Ja, dat is niet gezellig daar.
What's interesting is that our viewers are watching this. They're seeing these trees get shredded. What they may not be able to see, because this is a nighttime hurricane, is that the storm surge level is rising, and the trunks of these trees are almost completely underwater. At least the bottom halves of these trees are almost underwater.
Wat ik nou opvallend vind, is dat de windspeed is maar 16 mijl per uur. Dat is,
How high it's rising, because
ja, dat hebben we hier elke dag.
and we're maybe 50 to 100 feet where the driveway starts, and then you and I are 4 and 5 stories up. But I can see that water rise, and you look at the garage just across from us, and that garage, the first floor is almost completely underwater, and it hasn't stopped rising. I want to tell you something else I just learned, Jesse. Our weather unit is telling me now that they can't tell us how fast the weather is.
Ja, dat is misschien wel heel slecht. Als het zo keihard regent, dat de eerste verdieping van de parkeergarage onder water staat, dan wil je graag dat de wind sneller is.
Reporting from inside this concrete structure, this garage, because it's safer. I also want to tell our viewers that if they see a flash of green or orange, it's not lightning. It's likely a transformer exploding somewhere in the distance. And Jesse, I've been seeing those quite frequently over the last 10-15 minutes.
Oké, als je een groene flash ziet, dan is dat waarschijnlijk geen bliksem, maar een transformatorhuisje dat ontploft.
The debris is the big unknown here. I've been asking officials about the impact of it on everything from potentially making a death toll worse to exacerbating the storm surge. And the other thing that they didn't seem to think was a big point of concern, but I'm going to be curious about tomorrow, Tom, is we know how quickly the flooding can recede when you get the debris cleared out from the storm drains, right? The lingering flooding hours after landfall. I want to know how much worse that flooding will be, or how much quicker it has unfolded because of that debris. And it might be hard to gauge just because there's no one that's going to be tracking that in real time. Tom, I want to, if you bear with me for a moment, we're going to show our viewers, we've been able to get mobile enough to give people an idea of how much water is around us. So Tom, this is the side we've been showing people, and you
Ja, zie je die regen naar beneden komen.
so it's hard to know how quickly the water is rising because it keeps getting steeper, right? So it might be more water coming in than we can tell just because of that incline. This is one side, and now come with me. And Tom, you were talking about the fortification. We've got these sturdy walls. This garage is almost entirely insulated, but we do have those pocket windows we can go to step outside and give people an idea of what we're seeing. And on this end, we have a view of the other side street. I know you were down here earlier before it got too risky to be down there. And then we also can see the main street, Tom, and have our photographer, David, come in here and show you the view from over here. We are surrounded by water by at least 3 sides here. This is the other side street, perpendicular to where we were, and then off in the distance out there is
Oh man.
downtown Sarasota, and I can see the water rippling in the reflections from the lights that are still working out there. So clearly we have water on at least 3 sides here, Tom, and it's going up the side of that stop sign and that street sign. It's almost entirely submerged what looks to be a railing by a sidewalk over there. It's hard to know how much, but it has to easily be feet of water, Tom. Oh, that's a big gust.
Yeah, see,
That's
you
a
guys
big
stay.
gust.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Oh, als dat maar goed komt.
It's getting worse and worse, and we have another couple of hours. The other thing we have to tell our viewers, because of this storm surge, we're actually camping out here. We're going to overnight inside this garage because it's just too dangerous even to walk over to the hotel in conditions like this. The storm is now a Category 2 hurricane. It's headed towards central Florida. That's where Priscilla Thompson is for us tonight. Priscilla, as we look over my shoulder here, I'm hearing this loud wind. I just got to kind of look over and make sure everything's okay. What are you seeing in Orlando at this hour?
De reporters die blijven in de parkeergarage overnight.
Power here, so now
Het is te gevaarlijk om terug naar het hotel te lopen. Ik snap dat.
generator power, so they're able to power some things, but already we're without power here, and the worst of this storm has not yet even arrived. Over the past several hours, the rain...
Het ergste moet nog steeds komen, volgens Priscilla.
It appears to be slowing for a moment here, but we did hear that loud crack of thunder, and then immediately all of the lights in the room that we were in went out. All of our lights out here went out, and so we are running fully on batteries. And now there are more than 1 million people across the state without power as this storm is continuing to churn on. But the real threat here is going to be the flooding. Earlier today when we were out on the roads,
Oh man, what a mess.
already seeing some roads starting to flood, the water beginning to pool, and they are expecting up to 14 inches by the time this is all over. And so they are bracing for that flooding. The county here has passed out more than 200,000 sandbags. They've also been working to lower the water levels in the bodies of water here, and they've got pumps set up all throughout this area so that as they can get this water out quickly when that flooding really starts to pick up. But catastrophic flash flooding, definitely a concern here. And again, the power already out in some areas here, and the worst of the storm is still projected to be at least an hour or two off from where we are. Tom?
Nog 2 uur. Oh man.
And Priscilla, talk to us about the tourists there, right? Because Orlando obviously runs on tourism. You have Disney
Als ik daar woonde en je bent nu aan het kijken,
parks of Orlando.
luisteren naar Priscilla. She knows.
Evacuating.
Well, those theme parks, those major theme parks closed, which is something that we do not...
Holy shit.
Universal and Disney...
Zal je dan net op vakantie zijn, hè? Universal, Disney, allemaal dicht.
Tourists were not going to be able to visit those sites.
En zelfs SeaWorld. Maar ja, who cares about that?
Residents, perhaps some tourists, but there's something like 1,500 people who are in shelters and in hotels right now, bracing for what is to come, and businesses have been closed throughout this area. We did go to one gas station earlier that said that they plan to remain open, but even the woman, the cashier inside, said that she was worried about staying there, but that she had to stay there to work.
Ja, het hele leven ligt gewoon dicht nu.
Making sure that they're closing, but you do have some folks who are remaining open, and that could be a real problem because as we have heard from first responders and emergency officials, once this gets back,
Hebben we ooit meegemaakt dat de Efteling dicht moest vanwege het weer?
especially as we're talking about flooding,
Ja, volgens mij wel ooit een keer, maar op 1 hand te tellen.
in southern Florida earlier today, and so now this new wave of a threat is preparing to come in here. Tom?
All right, Priscilla Thompson, you stay safe tonight. We appreciate your reporting. We're looking live right now at what is, I guess, a tennis pavilion. It's right next to
Ja, dat is die parkeergarage.
parking garage. And the final sighting of that structure.
Nou vind ik die parkeergarage niet het meest interessant, maar
Back and forth, but we're watching that because we just don't.
ja, als mijn auto daar zou staan wel.
Pretty dangerous. While we kind of monitor what's happening here in Sarasota as the hurricane force winds are just crushing this city right now. I want to get over to Sam Brock, who's live for us in Fort Myers. Sam, talk to us about what you're seeing where you are.
Fort Myers.
Well, it's an interesting way that you phrased that, Tom. What I'm seeing right now is not a whole lot because it is dark. About 30 to 45 minutes ago, we were doing a live report with Gotti, and the lights just started flickering, and then the entire block just went out. And I'm staring out right now into the abyss. There is a building down the street that is likely on a generator that's still light, so you can probably see that. But beneath it, just oceans forming in the streets. You know,
Oceans forming in the streets.
In Fort Myers that we were talking about, the potential for
That's heavy shit.
over the course of the last couple of hours, absolute change in the sense that there's 2 to 3 feet minimum I would say more, just rushing through downtown Fort Myers right now. And I'm not talking about
More than 3 feet oceans
experience with Hurricane Ian a couple of years
in the streets.
Island at 20 minutes, 30 minutes from where we are, and then cross by bridge. This is downtown Fort Myers, and I'm looking around and I'm seeing tree branches floating in the street. Haven't seen dumpsters yet, so it's not quite strong enough to perform that. But this
Downtown, dat betekent binnenstad. Maar we zien geen afvalcontainers.
was talking about this a second ago. In the state of
Als we die zien is het pas echt erg.
1 million customers, no power right now. 1.5 million customers means you figure 2 or 3 or 4 people at home. You're talking about 4 or 5 million people in Florida without any power right now. That includes
1,5 miljoen mensen zonder stroom vanavond.
pulling off. I've certainly seen that before.
1,5 miljoen gezinnen.
Right now, Tom, but just
Dat betekent 4 of 5 miljoen mensen zonder stroom.
some of the key talking points right now. There's more than 100,000 people across the state that are currently in shelters. Excuse me if this has been reported previously.
Op zich is dat
That was as of about an hour.
erg, maar die hebben dus ook geen internet.
There have been these widespread calls for evacuation all over Florida from where we are.
Think about that for a minute.
This is in a major flood stage, and that was as of 2 hours ago. North to Sarasota, where you are, and beyond Tampa. It's the whole region right now that has folks that are displaced, that doesn't have any power. There were confirmed fatalities in Fort Pierce, Florida, St. Lucie County. We got an update, John Filippelli did, from our Miami bureau, from officials there that said that there's been multiple fatalities from a tornado. And now think about this. 19 confirmed...
Ja, dit is best wel shit.
It was tornadoes that have touched down, because we know they have to be surveyed as of a couple of hours ago. So they're all over, right? That's just one little portion. In all likelihood, you're talking about dozens of tornadoes. This remains a threat. It's dark. In a nocturnal sense, it's much harder to see them wrapped up at night. And so that's a cause for concern as well. And sort of to put a bow on all of this, what you were saying earlier, we have been seeing big green flashes in the sky. Haven't seen it for a little while now, but it certainly seems likely that it is transformers blowing and affecting the electrical infrastructure here. And yeah, I'm just looking into darkness. I can barely see the camera in front of me, but at least the wind...
Ja, electric infrastructure, dat is niet zo gek, hè, dat kapot is.
You and your team stay safe as well. We thank you for your reporting and staying up late for us tonight here on NBC News Now. We are up and we are broadcasting live from Sarasota because Hurricane Milton has made landfall and it is just absolutely crushing the city of Sarasota. Just behind me, we've been watching this tennis pavilion that is getting the siding ripped off of it. We're going to put a light on it so you can see it a little bit better. We're trying to keep eyes on it because when the siding gets ripped off, it becomes projectiles. And part of the roof has already shredded off, and now sides of the tennis pavilion are getting launched into the air as well. We're talking about hurricane force winds north of 100 miles per hour. That's what we're going through right now as you hear and see some of that vinyl being tossed around. It's dangerous down there. It's dangerous all over Sarasota. What you may not be able to see or tell that you're looking at right now, that is water on the ground there. The storm surge is rising. These trees, the bottom halves of them are completely underwater. And that water level has been rising. We've been watching it. It is held steady for the last 20 minutes, so I'm hoping that maybe that's the extent of the storm surge. I'm praying that's the extent of it, because if it goes up any higher, it could be incredibly dangerous. Already parts of Sarasota look like islands because they're surrounded by all sides of water. The power is out here, as you heard, more than 1 million customers across the state of Florida without power. We have teams spread out across the state tonight. 1.6 million, I'm being told now, people without power, customers. That's just a house, that's an apartment. So you think about family members, as Sam pointed out, and that number could be 3-4 million people without power right now. As I mentioned, our teams are spread out across Florida tonight. We're live for you in Sarasota. Dana Griffin and her team are stationed in Naples. Dana, we were watching that Naples pier for the past couple of days. We know it got destroyed during Hurricane Ian. I think I can hear what you're seeing there and what you're feeling. Talk to us about Naples right now.
Yeah, Tom, if you're hearing some clacking in the background, this is how strong the winds are. We are in a parking garage. We are safe, but there are some metal signs that are swinging just behind us. We can't show them to you right now, but
that is the noise that you're probably hearing. And you can see the trees kind of whipping. They're leaning a little bit to the left here. We're not seeing much rain. We're kind of getting rain off and on. It's stopped at the moment, but we've lost power just behind us. This street light was on back here, so we've got a little bit more darkness than we saw earlier. Our hotel lost power for about 30 minutes earlier tonight, but they were able to get back up and running. Naples right now, although we are south of the storm, we are still feeling major impacts. The city of Naples tweeting out videos showing storm surge coming through downtown. This was around 5:30 this afternoon. We know it surpassed 4 feet. I heard numbers possibly as high as 6 feet. But the police department says that storm surge is expected to reach peak numbers between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. So we've still got several hours to go, and the impacts will be felt as we go through the night. We know that power outages have impacted some 30,000 people here in Naples alone. Even here in this garage, the door just opened and then slammed shut. So that's just how powerful the winds are at this moment. That is the biggest thing that we're seeing right now. Officials have told people to stay off the roads, no driving.
Joining Storm Chaser Michael Gordon here.
We have not seen any cars. We know 911 services and emergency crews are still responding to emergency calls
here in
unlike
Venice
other
Beach,
counties
Florida,
where they have suspended them as the storm
surge
passes through. Here they are still answering calls. Luckily, no injuries in Collier County, but likely we may learn more as day breaks, because again, the dangerous part about this storm, besides it,
I'm surprised this stuff hasn't went down yet.
Hey, we hebben iets nieuws. Wacht even.
No life here.
Oké.
Everyone evacuated, thank God.
Oké, we gaan even changen. We gaan veranderen van NBC naar een livestream hier van iemand in waar is die gast?
I'm driving a Chevy Trail Boss.
Oké. We kijken nu naar een live video vanuit de affected area.
I'm really surprised nothing's hit my truck or yet.
Wacht even,
8,000 people watching. Thank you again, everyone. Keep smoking that like button. Thank you. Storm Chaser Michael Gordon here. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. We go and tackle all the crazy storms. You want to be a part of it. You can ask people from Helene and now this storm.
Iemand die dit live streamt, hè? And that's pretty fucking cool. Ik ga heel even checken waar die vandaan komt. Venice Beach. Near Venice Beach, Florida. Live beelden.
Let's keep her going. We'll get up to 8,000. We're almost at 5,000 likes. Got 1,500 to go. We can easily get there, guys. Thank you.
Hij heeft 5.000 views nu. En voor publieke omroep, en zelfs binnen Nederland is dat niet veel. Maar dit is wel de real shit. Geen journalisten die er iets van vinden en roepen: oh, dat komt door de planeetopwarming, climate change. Nee, dit is gewoon wat mensen zien.
This is currently live.
Zie ik eigenlijk liever dan NBC.
We can drive out and see what else is this way. Hopefully that thing doesn't blow up on me.
Nee, dat hoop ik ook niet.
We got this in my way here.
Okay.
It'll be fun and exciting. Part of a roof, looks like.
Hij heeft waarschijnlijk een hoge instapauto. Maar het lijkt net alsof hij aan het varen is, toch?
Oh, tackle snow. I love snow events. That's my favorite. I'm originally from Montana, so snow, yeah, right up my alley.
Hey, from Montana. Heb ik ook ooit tijd doorgebracht. Maar
Oh wow.
dat is een andere
Cool off
story.
right behind me, must have.
Oh
Oh no, I
jongen,
drove around that.
die palmbomen die waaien en zwaaien. Oh, wat gebeurt er nou? Stroom uitgevallen?
I guess he's moving out of the way. I'll come on through.
Ja, ruim maar even door. Wij blijven je volgen.
Wow. Wind's still howling here.
Venice, Florida.
Let's go down here. Let's see what elder damage we got.
En hij gaat kijken wat voor schade we nog meer kunnen ontdekken. Voordat we dat morgenochtend zien in het nieuws.
Actually, what I need to do... Let me look here. Let me see what I got for a map here.
Ja, doe dat maar eens even. Staat er nou iemand? Oh nee. Oké, we kijken nou zo naar mobile homes. Wat je hier zou kunnen zien als een recreatiewoning.
We got a few hundred more, or 1,000, 1,300 more likes to go to hit 5,000.
Ja, hij wil hits hebben. Misschien kunnen we daarbij helpen. Maar ja, hij gaat kijken bij recreatiewoningen. Hier ook zo bekend. In Amerika is dat wat anders. Daar is het niet illegaal.
Woo! More stuff raining down here.
En ja, dat mag daar gewoon,
When we
hè?
get back over here, we're going to go towards Magnolia Avenue.
Magnolia Avenue gaan we nu naartoe. De stoplichten schijnen nog te werken. Dit is eigenlijk veel beter dan heel die NBC en ABC en CBS en CNN. Gewoon even live meekijken wat er nou aan de hand is. Misschien moet ik hem even een berichtje sturen.
Thank you again, everybody. If you're joining Storm Chaser Michael Gordon here.
Ga ik even proberen. Oh. Ja, dan
We're
moet
gonna go
ik...
get into some more deep storm surge.
Dan moet ik weer gaan abonneren op.
As you see here, we got water.
Ja, we zien
Building
water.
underwater here.
Ja, dat zien we allemaal. Ja, kan ik niet gewoon even subscriben of zo? Wat een gedoe, man. Laat maar zitten, we gaan gewoon kijken. Hupsakee. Waar is hij nou weer uitgekomen?
This is all in Venice Beach here.
Venice Beach in Florida. Live beelden. Niet van een of ander nieuwskanaal of zo. Dit is gewoon echt. Wow. Verdrinkt bijna. Stoplichten doen het nog. En we hebben nog groen ook. Oh, wow.
Thank you, everyone, for all the kind words.
Yeah, you're welcome, man.
We're going to go over here and get deep in the water. On this other side here, we know we've got some serious flooding.
Ja.
Smashing that like. Let's get to 5,000. Wind's still rocking here.
Oké, de zuidzijde. Even, ik moet even het geluid zachter zetten. Oh, godsamme man. Oh ja, hier. Aan de zuidzijde is veel water te zien, meer dan normaal. En we gaan even verder kijken hoe het in de volgende subsection, wat we hier dorp zouden noemen, hoe het leven daar is. Op dit moment.
We're seeing, wow, a lot of wind damage here.
Wind damage.
Oh ja.
Schade door de wind, zien we nu al. Oh. Iedereen ligt te slapen, denk ik daar nog, of niet? Oké, we gaan uit de auto.
Lots of damage here.
Veel schade.
All these homes are underwater.
Alle huizen zijn onder water. Als ze geluisterd hebben naar de authorities, zou daar niemand meer moeten zijn. Maar Amerikanen kennen sommigen gaan het gewoon uitrijden.
Thank you, everyone, if you're just joining in Venice Beach.
Yeah, I'm joining in the Netherlands. But I can't say that to you because I don't need to do the whole subscribing thing. Maybe you will find this one day. I do really appreciate what you're doing.
Turning down Albee Drive. Or Albee Road.
We're driving with you.
Wow. There's our hotel that we stayed at last night. Holiday Inn Express. Ooh, power line down.
Right through Florida, where Hurricane Milton has made landfall already.
Woo! Thank you, everybody, for joining. If you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, please come join.
And make sure to like and subscribe his channel, because this is just wonderful. I still need to do that. I like this guy. Oh man.
Coming through this storm surge here in Albee.
Okay, I've subscribed to his channel now. Now I should be able to send a message. Not? Oké, we hebben een commentaartje gegeven, dus...
Look at this. Ice machine floated out and everything. Look at this storm surge, guys.
Ja, man. Oh, wow. What a mess. What kind of car are you driving? Because that must be a really good car. Withstanding all the water. Looks like the wind is not that bad anymore. And the rain is gone. And there's a house underwater. Ah, the wind is still pretty hefty. Look at the trees. Oh my god, man. And look at those wires. Yeah, it's not over yet. Almost 5 a.m. in the Netherlands, which means 11 p.m. in Florida. So it's not even midnight yet.
Alright. It is a little deep here, I will say that.
Hey man, welcome back in your car. This really is shitty weather. Of in goed Nederlands. Wat een kut weer.
I want to bring you guys the most up-to-date and best footage we can. Thank you for the donations. Awesome, 10,000 people watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
We hebben 10.000 mensen die aan het kijken zijn. Dat is wel cool.
Wow, look at that home. Or shed or whatever it is.
Oh. Holy shit. Dat ziet er niet goed uit. Oh man. Kijk naar die palmbomen. Daar is, ja, daar wil je niet meemaken. En buiten heel veel viewers heeft hij blijkbaar ook nog donations. Mensen betalen geld om dit te zien en dat is terecht. Dit is goede footage. Ik zie dit liever dan de NBC en CNN.
Come join the fun. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
Ja, dat weet
We
ik.
got over 10,000 people watching. This is awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for the support.
10,000 plus the ones on Bars Media. Ja.
I'd love to try and make it down Albie, but I don't think I can.
Hey, die hebben nog wel stroom. Of zou dat solar-powered lighting zijn van de Action? I don't know. Maar hij is toch aan het varen? Hij is niet aan het rijden. Wat voor auto heeft hij? Oh, kijk dan. Dit is toch of je op zee bent, of niet? Oh man. Oh man. We zitten in Orleans, in Florida. Een beetje richting de oostkust. Noordoost van Orlando. En dit is een YouTuber die is gaan rondrijden.
No.
In een soort amfibievoertuig, denk ik. Want ik denk niet dat ik dit met mijn Peugeot 208 kan doen. Oké, we gaan terug. Er loopt een beest over de lens. De amfibie gaat omdraaien, want dit wordt een beetje te gek. Holy shit, zie daar water. Ik ben ooit padvinder geweest, maar ik zou me hier ook niet veilig voelen. We kijken even door, ondertussen ga ik even naar de wc. Is dat oké? Ja. Dacht ik ook. Houdoe.
Doing our best. Thank you, everybody. 5,000 likes. This is awesome. Storm Chaser Michael Gordon here. Currently on Albee Road, just at the end of Lions Bay. We're gonna turn around right here. I'm just. Kyle, if you're watching, sorry, but I'll have to call you tomorrow. I got so much crap here.
Ja.
Thank you again, everybody. Smash that like and subscribe.
Dat ziet er nog niet heel goed uit daar in Florida. Oh man. But like and subscribe this guy.
Let's keep smoking that like button. We're gonna go back around here. I think water's starting to go down just enough to move forward here. Yep, it is going down.
What kind of car does that guy have?
So we're gonna move forward.
Er moet een soort amfibievoertuig zijn. Dit is toch geen
Storm
gewoon
Chaser Michael
auto?
Gordon here. We are on Albee Road.
Abbey Road.
Driving through about 2 feet of storm surge, at least. We're getting up here to the next bridge, I believe.
The next bridge.
Not the bridge, but another turnaround spot. All right, let me get this back for you guys. We're gonna keep on moving a little further here.
Whatever you're doing, it's
Out of the super deep part.
5 a.m. in the Netherlands.
Thank you again, everybody. Keep smashing that like button. Love it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please join.
Oh ja, dat moet
Again,
ik even doen.
we're going down Albee Road. Nobody's down here. So this is first untouched ground.
Like button.
Nobody has been here yet.
Het is 5 uur in
I am
de
the first truck
morgen
down here.
in Nederland. Ik heb morgen wat dingen te doen, dus ik check eruit. Maar ik laat deze stream hier doorgaan. En terwijl ik in bed lig, ga ik het natuurlijk ook volgen. Ik zeg wel trusten voor nou en tot de volgende keer weer. Bye bye.
Ooh, 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 ooh. We got part of the building down right here, guys. I'm gonna flip around here. I'm on the bridge. I'm gonna turn around and show you guys. We can take that out of. That's the whistling of the wind here. Here we go. looks like Pelican Alley. Again, guys, there's Pelican Alley. Looks like the boat marina has been damaged pretty heavily. I guess let's go see what's down in it. See if we got anything down in it.